host them on the South Lawn. Football is returning to the nation's capital.
This land has been blighted and underutilized for too long.
D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser announcing a new agreement with the Washington Commanders, who've been playing in Maryland since 1997, to build a new stadium on the RFK campus where the team's original arena still stands. The project will cost the team and the city nearly $4 billion in all, with the Commanders planning to pay nearly $3 billion. The NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, also on hand for today's announcement. America is listening to Fox News.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk, my sponsor, my wireless company, has a better offer. The brand new free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan for $35 a month. You get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-213-5757. 800-213-5757.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Like early summer as we go through our Monday afternoon, sunshine, windy, 88 for the high tonight. Clouds take over. Very warm this evening, 69. Rain and thunderstorms developing well after midnight. Rain and thunderstorms into first thing Tuesday morning. Some could be strong to severe, 79. It's a waiting game to see if another batch develops mid to late afternoon. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
I met my wife in law school at the University of Florida. She was from upstate New York, and I was from Kentucky. We met at a daily mass at St. Augustine's. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen in my life. After communion, I followed her out of the church and got her phone number. The rest is history. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Little did we know that one day we would have 4 children and the largest injury firm in the world. All 4 work in the business. It's a family business. Did I ever see this coming? Hell no. We just worked very hard and treated our clients like we would want to be treated, like family. It's a full-service injury firm, auto accidents, medical malpractice, workers' compensation, Social Security, and insurance disputes. We're open 24/7, 365 days a year. Visit forthepeople.com and we can get to work on your case. No recovery, no fee. Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Are you looking for an easy way to get a daily detox? Active Liver is the easy way to get a daily detox. To keep you healthy and feeling your best, you can find Active Liver in the vitamin aisle at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Annie Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Well, I understand if you're just tuning in like normal, that's cool. Welcome to the Annie Frey Show. We are doing things a little different today, though. So let me try to bring you into what has been a crazy day for all of us here on the Annie Frey Show and just, be a part of what we're doing today because it's very, very exciting. So this weekend, we had the Save Our Mascots rally in Collinsville. That went really, really well. Thank you for being a part of that. And then today, we have a show host named Annie Frey here who is joining us, but not in studio. She is actually in Washington, D.C., and she is live with us now. Annie, how's it going?
Hello, from Washington, D.C., in my hotel room right now. And it has been a wild day to be able to be in the briefing room this morning while Carolyn Levitt was side by side with Tom Homan talking about, I think it's going to be really interesting this week because I think I've been told that they're going to do these early morning press briefings throughout the course of the whole week, of course, because of the 100 days that they're acknowledging. But they're going to kind of be focused on different portions of focus that the administration has on. And I, for one, am going to be interested to see how the administration prioritizes what goes first on Monday. Of course, maybe because Tom Homan might have been available on Monday, and I've been told that Scott Bessent will be there tomorrow at the press briefing, and it's going to be focused on the economy. Scheduling might have something to do with it, but I think it'd be hard-pressed to find out the two more important priorities for this administration and for the Americans that put these people in power: securing our country, getting the economy straight.
So, Annie, before we move forward and look at tomorrow, because I understand there's a whole lot more going to be happening this afternoon and then tomorrow, which we'll just kind of stay connected with you the whole time as much as we can. But walk us through today. I mean, what was the first thing you did this morning through now?
Ethan sent me a nice text and gave me some words of encouragement and a little offering of prayer for me, which I appreciated. But as you mentioned, the rally home in the state of Illinois that took place at Collinsville Chaos Stadium, we had close to 150 people show up. Didn't know it was going to be during a Blues game. Whoops. We pulled into the parking lot and I was like, my husband goes, "Oh, the Blues just scored." I'm like, the Blues are playing right now? Oh, no. But we still had 150 people show up to that event. And it was really awesome to see. If you haven't seen what some of those people had to say, you need to check out the Annie Frey Show YouTube page because Brad and Ryan were there live streaming everything. We got to hear from students from Collinsville High School, also from Granite City. They did such a great job. That was at 2:00. Went home after that. We wrapped it up by 3, which I'm excited about because we said we were going to keep it in an hour and we were out of there in an hour. And then I got on a plane last night, landed in Washington, D.C. at about 11:30 p.m., got to the hotel, checked in a little bit after midnight, and I was up at about 5:45 Eastern time to make it into the press briefing room to do what? I don't know. All these people are milling about they're all doing their job, like just imagine if Steve, your boss, was like, said to somebody, "Yeah, you can come in and you can do radio for a day." And then somebody showed up and they were just like there. And nobody looks at me like I don't belong there. everybody's just working and milling about. And so I'm trying to not be like, excuse me, I'm trying to not say "ope" a lot when I'm in the press briefing room and look super Midwestern, like, "Oh, sorry, oops, excuse me." I definitely feel out of my element, but I just thought to myself, like, while I was there, like, this would be something, as I've talked about this with the Blue Angels as well, when I got that opportunity to fly last year. Everything in me says, Annie, you are not cut out for this. This is not, it's so easy to just say no and not do the hard thing. But the hard thing is so cool. Even if I don't know what I'm doing, even if I look like a total fish out of water, I'm spending the whole day today watching and doing a lot of learning. Originally, our intention was for me to be in the press briefing room on Tuesday. I have press clearance all day tomorrow. I'm here all day tomorrow, fly back Wednesday morning, and Ethan Hannaford is going to pick me up from the airport and bring me back to host the Annie Frey Show on Wednesday. But the schedule is crazy. It's like, well, I will tell you, this is a scoop, you guys. I got a scoop here. Let me read
what
this
a scoop.
from... What a scoop. Crap, I didn't say it right, did I? I got a message from one of the White House handlers, and they said, we would like you to join for the 5 p.m. executive order signings if they open it up to the press.
Yes, that's so cool.
So I might be a possibility where if basically, you know how it is from our end, all of a sudden the president's signing executive orders, they hustle the White House press pool into the room. If it initially is scheduled as closed press, if they decide to bring the press in, I am supposed to be able to go into that's just like the craziest thing ever.
When do you find that out? 4:55, 5 minutes beforehand, or what?
I mean, I don't know. I said, like, should I just go back? Like, I could have been sitting in the press briefing room all day. They would have let me do that.
The guy after the game won't leave.
Yeah, hi. I'm still raising
we're
my
cleaning
hand
up the
like
stadium,
this.
sir.
I just want to be first in line.
Cardio in this morning. Exactly. They told me, they said that I should come back about 3:00 Eastern, so 2:00 your time. So I'm going to do the first hour here with you guys. Definitely the first 2 segments. We'll see about Wiggins America. And one other text I got was from one Will Scharf. And he said, I told all the press wranglers that you were my friend and that they should be extra nice to you. So I don't know if that has to do with me possibly getting into see the executive orders or not. But, you know, I said to you guys, there's no way that I can leave this opportunity if I don't get to ask a question, if I don't get to interview anybody that's super highfalutin, just to be able to be here and see how this stuff operates. And it's been a really amazing, overwhelming experience. And I'm doing this on about 4 hours of sleep, maybe.
Yeah.
If I got to sleep.
I feel you. I'm doing it on like
so.
9 hours. So it's kind of tough for me too.
Oh, nine full hours.
Yeah. Annie, I want to pop back and forth between both the news that's happening and your experience of the news, because they're kind of 2 different things, right? Let's talk about what Tom Homan was saying in the press briefing this morning, which you can report on because you were there. We don't have to watch it. You can tell us what it was like in the room, both kind of your experience and then what was he saying?
So I think that they wanted to focus questions today on border security. And basically you have Tom Homan standing there. Let's ask questions of the guy who's in charge of all of that, the border czar, if you will. And I was surprised that there weren't more pressing questions on this Louisiana family. I think I was going in thinking this was going to be kind of a bigger story in this press briefing than it materialized to be. But there was a mother in Louisiana that was deported. She was an illegal immigrant who had a child in the United States, which makes that child a citizen. And there are a lot of stories right now. J.B. Pritzker certainly highlighted it in a fundraiser that he was at over the weekend, saying that there were citizen children who were being deported. Well, the truth about that story, and this was discussed, there was a question asked about this, and I guess everybody was satisfied with the answer because they didn't press on it too much. But this Louisiana family, this mother said, can I please take my child with me? Because I think that they were going back to Honduras. And as Tom Homan said, we're not in the business of separating families. And if we would have said, no, that's a United States citizen, that 2-year-old's a United States citizen, they stay here. He said, then all of you in the press here would be talking about how we're separating families. We want the children to be with their parents, and the mother who was being deported because she came here illegally made the request to have the child stay with her. Now, that's the report that they gave today. And I thought that was going to be something that might have blown up a little bit more. But he delivered a very clear and concise message. Tom Homan, at the end of the words and the questioning, he went up to the microphone. He goes, hold on a second. I got one more thing. And then he pulled out a piece of paper and he goes, and I'm going to read this so you can't, so that nobody can mess up my words. And he delivered a very specific message to the people who are here illegally. Get on the the CB1 Home app or something like that. He goes, get in contact with ICE. You are going to be in such a better position if you initiate this contact and work on the self-deportation, work on meeting with the people who the authorities you're supposed to. Because if you don't, we're going to find you, we're going to deport you, and you're going to be barred from ever coming back to the United States again. He also said that there would be a fine. If you've gotten your final notice and you're still here, a fine of $998 a day if you don't go through that process yourself. It was very, if you thought 100 days in, there was going to be some stories that came out of the news cycle that made him look politically kind of bad, and maybe 100 days in, maybe you'll soften your blow. Nope. Not even a pinch of that. Complete and total resolve, complete and total focus on the job at hand. And one of the other reporters asked a question, and they said, you're talking about how, I think they said that they were doing 15,000 border people, meeting 15,000 people at the border every day. And he goes, you know how many we had yesterday or like within the last week? He goes, 137.
Wow.
And this reporter goes, okay, so if you're saying it's down to 137, why are you still saying it's an emergency? How can you still justify calling what's taking place at the border an emergency? He said, because we still have to stop the fentanyl that's still trying to get into this country. We still have to make sure that if there is anything going on, any sort of nefarious behavior going on at the border, we're going to address that and we're going to combat against that. So there's no good enough is well done. It's clear, it's focused. And Tom Homan says my favorite line of his, if people don't like me, I don't care. And then he just goes about his business.
So one of the things making news today, you may have seen it in person, is the posters that they put up of the criminal illegal aliens along press row. Obviously, the point was that the press would see it and hopefully report on it. MSNBC, amazingly, is blurring those pictures out when they play that right now. But I wanted to see.
I have a video of them on my phone right now.
You have the video?
Put it in a Google Drive for you guys. Yes, I do.
Well, that answers that question. Did you see it? But is there like a press reaction that's happening to that row of pictures, mugshots?
One of the things that I'm really interested in being behind the scenes is can I tell in the press room while we're outside of the press room and people are milling about, can I tell who's who just by the way they act? I'm waiting to, Caitlin Collins wasn't in the room today, but if Caitlin Collins were in the room today, what if she's the nicest person I've ever met? What if the people who we think are the ones who we watch on TV all the time, what if they're not the nicest people we've ever met? So I'm kind of waiting to see from a personality standpoint, how people operate, how they interact with one another. Maybe in the next segment, I'll tell you a little scoop about behind the scenes, because I had some conversations with some people standing around me who were talking about, I know I'm in DC and I just keep saying scoop. Just kind of the way that the room functions, because it's not really what you would think it is. And I was interested in the kind of drama behind that.
Does Carolyn Levitt or anybody from the administration, do they interact with the press outside of that briefing, or is that's it?
Well, I think, again, going back to what I said at the beginning, this is a really non-traditional week for the administration and for the normal order of operations, because generally speaking, I see a lot of 11 a.m. our time, Central Time briefings. A lot of times they happen right before we come on the air, and then we're trying to pick stuff up from there if anything happened. But then also a lot of 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. briefings. To have this at 8:30 in the morning, instead of kind of easing your day into that press briefing, that's how everybody started their morning. And I heard a lot of people in the room being like, 8:30, I love this. Get in here and get it done and get out. They're looking to move on with their day. So I think that traditionally Carolyn probably is more accessible during the day, but I wonder if this week might be a little bit different.
Well, we are at the time where we're supposed to break. So let's say we're going to stop now. We're going to come back with Annie, and let's talk about this afternoon. Let's talk about tomorrow, what you're expecting to see. And I guess you're going to have a scoop for us. So there's a tease. Stick around for that. We will be right back with Annie Frey Goes to Washington here on the Annie Frey Show.
Conversation has run dry. That's what's going on. Nothing's fine, I'm torn. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. I'm cold and I am shamed. Lying naked on the floor. Illusion never changed into something real. I'm wide awake and I can see the perfect sky is tall.
Well, I always say go to Andrea's for your next big occasion. That for us, that's a lot of times it's our birthdays, it's anniversary and stuff like that. We love going to Andrea's restaurant. This time, though, my wife's birthday was just last weekend, and she decided to go out of town. She decided to go visit her sister in Columbia, Missouri. So they said, well, we have to eat steak, though, because that's our tradition. We just always go to Andrea's, but she wasn't here. So she went to a steakhouse, and it sucked. It wasn't any good. And now she's mad because she used her steak dinner, and we didn't get to go to Andrea's. So I think we might have to do a make good and go maybe this weekend. But yeah, you got to go to Andrea's for your next big occasion. If you've ever had, that's the problem, is that you've ever had a really good of anything, let alone an Andrea's steak. You kind of, everything else kind of pales in comparison. So if you've never had Andrea's, you really need to try it. And then, hey, if you're like, oh, I've been to great steakhouses, we'll compare it. Go to Andrea's Steakhouse and compare what a fantastic filet mignon or prime rib or whatever your cut is. Get it there, and they cook it to perfection, of course, with Andrea's steak sauce. You'll never have a better steak. And then compare it to what you've had and tell me whether you've ever had a better steak than that one that you're going to have at Andrea's. Go to Andreas.com to see all their menu and everything. It's in Fairview Heights, Illinois. Andreas.com.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Annie Frey and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, May 20th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Thomas with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and worried about the market volatility and losses at this stage in your life? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event. Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton on Tuesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 55 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance, and installation of heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Annie Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric. You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
This is a great day to get in the chat on YouTube. A lot of people joining because this is where we're going to play a lot of video. Annie's taking video, and we'll be sharing stuff, not just right now, but throughout the day, maybe even past our normal time. I mean, this is going to be kind of fly by the seat of your pants stuff. A lot of people, Annie, who is here, by the way, from D.C., Annie, people are asking, you know, if you've seen President Trump at all, if you've seen Vice President Vance. I would assume that if that happens, that would be this afternoon at the executive order.
I have not seen either one of them today. I do know that they're both here, according at least to the president's schedule that was sent out yesterday, said that they were supposed to have lunch together. So maybe that's what they're doing right now, or maybe they've wrapped that up. I will go back to the White House. I'm going to be back there at about 3 o'clock. I'm going to try to get there hopefully around 2:30 my time. So that'd be 1:30 your time. And the possibility exists that there might be another opportunity to move with the press and to cover whatever is going on at the White House, including the potential for signing of executive orders. So I haven't seen either of them. Of course, I saw Tom Homan and Carolyn Levitt at the press briefing. A lot of the members of the press that you probably recognize as well. Peter Doocy was there. He was milling about. I think that's kind of one of the interesting things about the press and the way that they work. Like, we'll see, if you're watching Fox News, you'll see Peter Doocy do, you know, a stand-up in front with the White House in the background, beautiful green lawn, the White House is back there. What happens is they are all on this long, they call it a driveway, or Pebble Beach, I think is how it's also referred to. So when I walked in, I had to go in through security, give them my ID. It's almost like trying to go through TSA at an airport. When I got in, I got handed a press pass. And then when I got out of that, which I happened to go through security this morning with Brian Kilmeade's producer, who I got to see, I stood there with Allison for a while. And then before you got to walk down this long driveway to get to where the press briefing room exists. But you can essentially go from getting onto White House property on the campus or whatever it's called to the press briefing room without really having to weave yourself through any other places. So the press can kind of come and go, which is really nice that they have it set up that they can mill about. They can, if something big were to happen, they all would be able to be covering it at the same time. And outside, there's just this whole string of green tents. You might have seen this in pictures before, but if you watch Fox and Friends this morning, Brian Kilmeade had the White House in the background, and he was broadcasting inside that green tent that you would maybe see Peter Doocy reporting from throughout the course of the morning and early morning and late morning for the most part. So then they can go from, I mean, it's maybe 100 meters to go from the area where they do their stand-up video shot into the press briefing room. And then there might be some more places to explore back there yet that I haven't had the guts yet to just wander around until I get told, hey, you can't be here. So that might happen tomorrow, though.
Well, apparently all of the Secret Service knows that you're a friend of Will Sharf's. So
no, the White House press.
Oh, the White House press handler.
I don't know if Will Sharf told the whole Secret Service. Although that might be good for something. I might have to push for that a little bit.
So you haven't seen the current president. Have you seen the previous president at all?
No.
He didn't actually make it onto the helicopter. He's just, some say he's still wandering the grounds.
Wandering like a ghost. No, I have not seen him.
So yeah, people are, asking a lot of questions. Today's YouTube live chat poll is, do you have a question that you would like Annie to ask at the White House press briefing? So that's my question for you is tomorrow. We saw the DC Drano guy was in the new media chair this morning. And in fact, Ethan's kind of on standby because we have national video of you from this morning that we're going to just plug in at some point of you being in the press room. But okay. We're going to do it at some point. But do you know where you're going to be sitting tomorrow? Do you know if you're going to ask a question?
So the way it works is every seat that exists in the press room has a little plate. I saw there's little plates that are on the foot of the seat that mark where they go. And if you Googled it, I haven't had a chance yet to look it up. I heard some people talking about it in the press room today, but they're looking at shuffling completely how those seats are allocated. So right now, I think they're based more on like a monetary way of representation. And so you'll see the people in the front 2 rows will be your big, network covering or your biggest papers or whatever it might be. And then if for wherever you saw me standing on the wall or around the whole place, it's first come, first serve. So like I can get there super early in the morning tomorrow, and I'd have to get there super early because I walked in there probably at about 7:15 a.m. Eastern time, and there were 2 guys who were standing in front of me, and one of them was from the Epoch Times, and I can't remember which the other guy was from, but they were there, they were camped out, and then there's a woman who was standing in front of me at the press briefing, and she came in at the very last minute. Is it Mary Margaret, I think, from the Daily Wire, she asked a question. She was just over my right shoulder. But this woman came in at the very last minute and just walked and stood right in front of me. And it was, I didn't know what I don't know, but it did not please people in the room. And I'm like, do I need to say, like, in most cases in my life, I'd handle that situation. But I'm like, I just got here. I am not handling this situation.
So you're
I
saying
offered to get out.
So somebody walked in late and stood right in front of you, and the rest of the room was like, no, that's not cool.
You are going to take this to the far exactly
I do.
What I just said there. So no, I'm going to say that I was there. When I got there, it's John Decker. He is somebody who is offered quite often to us through Fox News, I believe, radio 2 ways. Like we talked to Ryan Schmelz, but we've developed a good relationship with him, and I understand he's going to be on the show at 1:25 today. People who are experts at various things, their job is to cover a certain kind of beat. So maybe it's economic, maybe it's foreign policy, like the Ukraine Russia war, or what's going on in the Middle East, or whatever. So he was in there. And I watched him. I bet you he did. I got there at 7:15. The press briefing took place at 8:30 Eastern. I bet you he did 5 or 6 radio shows, just sitting in his chair in the press briefing, had his papers, was super friendly to everybody, and would pick up the phone and say, hey, how's it going? And then he'd do a radio hit, and then he'd do another and another. Like, these people are really hustling to make sure that they can get the word out. They've got the coverage down, so they're talking to people all over the country. But it's just interesting to see, like the outside, they said it's like kind of like the wild, wild west. And I think that Carolyn Levitt is looking to potentially shake up the way the press room is laid out and cycle maybe people through which chairs they sit in, or, maybe it stays the way it is. And some people get some specific spaces on the wall. I don't know. But it was clear that the non-spoken for spaces, which were first come, first serve, that you better have some thick skin if you want to show up and make your position known.
So today, it seems like there's a focus, at least today, on immigration. Do you know if they're focusing on different subjects each day this week? Tomorrow's the 100th day. I mean, pretty cool that you're there for that. But
yep, tomorrow is economy. And at the press briefing, just like today, Tom Homan was there. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, I believe, is going to be in that room doing the press briefing once again at 8:30 in the morning. So I'll be able to be in there. I have clearance to do the same thing tomorrow that I'm doing today. And I'm looking to hopefully get maybe over to the Capitol. Also, I've made some connections with some of our Missouri and Illinois representatives that exist in Congress. So if I can do the press briefing tomorrow morning, I might try to work myself over to Capitol Hill and see what I can do over there. But tomorrow's focus will be the economy.
Okay, and this could apply to the press briefing room too, but let's say this afternoon you are in either the room or wherever they do the executive order. He's so freewheeling that he may just start taking questions. Are you prepared for the opportunity to yell, Mr. President, Mr. President, and then him go, yes, you
in the pond? The answer is yes. I will be prepared to say something, but I don't know what the executive orders are. So I have for this morning, that I had some questions written down that I really wanted to ask, and then I found out that it was going to be about border security. So I had to scrap what I had to ask and come up with some border security questions should I get called on. And they said that there was a chance that I could get called on. They were pretty encouraging that it would happen. And I have, like I've told Brad this, I might have told you this, Ryan. I told my husband this. I'm like, listen, if I don't my life is made of, oh, you're going to do this and you're going to do that and you're going to do this. And then you get there and like none of that stuff happens. And what I've decided is that if it happens that I don't get asked a question, I am not going to be disappointed to have had this opportunity. Like 100% A+, so happy to be here and experience this. If I am in front of the president and he calls on me, I better have something that I want to say and something that is useful to the conversation that is bigger than me. So yes, I will have something to say. Do I expect to get called on? I don't, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, having been around it now, being like in the scrum or whatever you want to call it, is there like a flow to this thing? Do people have their question pre-written on a card and they're going to ask that question regardless? Or is it, no, the guy next to me just asked that. Now I got to scramble because I got to come up with something else, but I got to get my time.
I think that it probably depends on the reporter. I mean, these people, you know how it is for us. There's a different flow to our show when I'm hosting. There's a different flow when you're hosting, Ryan, with Brad. There's a different flow if we have a guest host into the show and you're playing your normal Ryan Wiggins role with somebody else in there. But I would say, at least for me, the easiest way to do it is when I'm there hosting the show. And I don't write down my questions for my guests when I'm having people on. I have ideas in my head, and you learn how it's just a conversation. You're just talking to people when I'm hosting the show. And I have thought to myself a dozen times that I've been out here, like how comfortable I am in my role as a radio talk show host, talking to thousands of people every day from the place that you're standing right now, Ryan, and how not comfortable I am here doing this. And it's just, I think anybody, you gain the confidence and the experience to do something like this. So a lot of these reporters are sitting there and they're waiting for their question. They know what they're going to ask, but they're not in a position where they're having to write things out because they're professionals. They've been doing it for a long time. I had to do that. I had to write out questions when I started doing radio, and I don't have to do that now. But you better believe I had questions written out word for word and proofread and improved words that I had in the sentences and everything in the event that I did get called, so I wouldn't make a fool of myself.
Well, Ethan's in the room now. He's going to pull up a little video of you from this morning. We may not play the audio because we want to talk to you here, not just listen to questions that weren't from you, but we do have the video, so we'll play that if you want to log on to YouTube and see Annie on national news this morning. Go ahead.
Do you want the
No,
audio?
we won't play the audio because
Okay.
we're talking to Annie. Maybe we'll get to that later. But being in the room, and this is political nerd question stuff. This isn't even news related. But being in the room, is it like, is it weird? I mean, we've watched these things over generations at this point. The same room, there's so much history being where you're at. Is it weird to be there? And is it different than what you'd expect?
It's surreal. I don't know if I would say weird, but it's surreal. Hey, there I am.
There
Look
you
at
are,
me,
right
just
there.
Trying not to embarrass the families that I belong to. Like, I was seriously standing there up against the wall thinking, gosh, don't lock your knees. I'll be the person who like passes out or I just itch my nose. Oh my gosh. I don't know if this might be the only time I ever watch this. I don't know if
Carolyn Levitt was like, what's that girl doing itching her nose back there?
What's
she looking at right now?
She did look at me in the briefing and she smiled at me. I smiled at her and she smiled at me. Like, here's what I'm doing. Because listen, I'm not a journalist in there that's like trying to, not going to say that I'm not fair and balanced, but I love what this president is doing. Donald Trump in his first 100 days is doing way more than I ever thought that he'd be able to do. And he's being so successful. So here, me as an expressive person, you've seen me interview people, especially if people come in and they're nervous or they need guidance. Like my face will be expressive. My face is too expressive. So like I'm sitting here in the press room And she's saying things, and Tom Homan is saying things, and I had to spend so much time keeping my face from doing all the talking. And I was like, I wanted to be like, that's right. Like, she's listening to things, and I wanted to be like, yes, girl, that's absolutely it. And I'm like, I cannot do that right now. So I was trying really hard to stay within myself and like not nod my head in affirmation the way, sometimes if you're seeing someone speak that they're giving a note or a message, you'd be like, that's right. You tell it like it is, girl, or Mr. Homan. I don't know.
Oh, no.
But I mean.
Look, you did that today. Okay, you got through your day. That's fine. Tomorrow, do Pentecostal church. I mean, just go for it. Like, yeah, girl,
no, listen,
amen.
The Lutheran in me, through and through. I'm
Hallelujah.
like, can I stand in the back of the room? Yeah, it's I'm pushing myself against everything that I have tried to be comfortable with, which is not needing to be in the front, not needing to be first. The first will be last, the last will be first. Here I am. And I'm like, this is not the way this room operates. So, I mean, obviously, I know that, but it's different when it comes to putting it in practice.
Annie,
what a cool opportunity.
Annie, was there, seeing that even from this side is surreal. Was there a moment, or has there been a moment yet, as you're sitting there in that press room saying, oh my gosh, there's Tom Homan, there's Carolyn Levitt, and potentially the chance for it to be President Trump. Has there been a moment yet, and perhaps this happens after the trip when you have more time to reflect, everything's moving so quickly right now, but have you had a moment to kind of just gather and be like, okay, like I'm here right now, what a cool opportunity?
Ethan, you'll appreciate this. We got done with the press briefing and everybody was walking out of the room, and I'm doing my Annie thing, which is I'm just like moving things around like I have important things to do. I don't have anybody here to talk to. I like wrote words down in my notebook that were just words. I don't even know what I wrote down, but I'm studying people around me to see like, okay, where do people go? Do people look like they're going to go completely somewhere else for the time being, whatever. And I finally, I would say 70% of the people left the press briefing room, went back outside to the area, what I was talking about before. And I walked out and I had to pause because I'm pretty sure the Philadelphia Eagles were walking right by me, like the whole team as they showed. I'm like, okay, all right. Now I came out. Maybe I should have gone sooner. I don't know. There they are. Good job, guys. You did great.
Usually when I see somebody who walks by who looks like a football player and there's a whole bunch of them, you usually can tell those people look like different people than we do.
Yeah, and they had, there were some people walking that looked like they were professional athletes, and then there were other people carrying their bags and, that type of stuff. So, and there was a lot of security and press, but they were being honored at the White House for their Super Bowl championship. And, like it's just, I would assume that's just another day at the White House. If you're in the White House press pool, you go in and talk to Tom Homan about making the country safe again, and then you go out the door and you're just like, oh, hey, it's the Eagles, fly, Eagle, fly, or whatever they say. I don't know. Just a lot of
E-G-L-A.
I missed an opportunity, didn't I? Dang it. You're right. I needed you, Ethan.
Well, we got one more segment this hour with Annie, so we're going to come right back and talk a little bit more about Annie's interview with the entire Philadelphia Eagles team. Anything else you want to add before we jump?
One more thing. Yeah. Before we go to a break, I want to say the biggest thank you and gratitude to Stewart's American Mortgage. My friend Stewie, when I called him and I said, I have this opportunity and I need a sponsor to help me go there, he goes, you got it. And that's the type of partner Stewie is. I'm a 2-time Bagel Loan user myself, so I know that he has a sponsorship relationship with this show, but I'm a customer of his. If you're looking to get a new mortgage, buy a new house or anything like that, Google the Bagel Loan and contact Stewie and tell him you heard about it. Especially tell him, if you're looking to contact him, you've ever been thinking about it, 314-324-4440, reach out to Stewie and tell him you heard about it on the Annie Frey Washington, D.C. coverage. And then also to Grasser Electric. Great to have them on board to help make this possible. GrasserElectric.com. If you have emergency service needed with electrical work, they're local, they're trusted. They've been family owned since 1975. You can go to grasserelectric.com on the homepage. I'm looking at it right now and get a free estimate. So thank you so much to Stewie and Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan, as well as Grasser Electric for making this possible. I am so incredibly grateful.
A lot of people in the socials right now saying that you should yell "Go Chiefs" this afternoon. We will find out whether you are going to do that.
I got to get
not.
Abrego Garcia's hat.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a deep cut. Yeah, we're going to find out more about that. I don't know. That's the tease, I guess. We're coming back with Annie Frey on the other side of this break. Stick around.
Green belts wrapped around our minds and endless red tape to keep the truth confined.
This is the Annie Frey Show. The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
ArtisticDecks.net. If you are looking for the deck of your dreams at an affordable price, you need ArtisticDecks.net. With over 20 years in the business, you call 314-280-0821. That's 314-280-0821. And you have partnered with the best in the St. Louis listening area. Free design and consultation. They handle the permitting process. They are insured, of course. And you can even ask them about their over 500 square foot discount. Book now and get your dream deck built before summer hits. 314-280-0821. That's 314-280-0821. And don't forget to mention the Annie Frey Show when you place that call. Just a small down payment gets you on the schedule, so you'll be sipping lemonade, maybe a margarita or two on that deck by the end of this summer. 314-280-0821. Call my friends at Artistic Decks online at artisticdecks.net.
I'm Danny Cohn, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This past week, the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust and remembered the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. As Jews, when we recall the atrocities of the Holocaust, we say, never again. This is not a slogan or a tagline. It's a responsibility we all share to prevent the systematic hatred from going unchecked. When we work together to fight against prejudice and bigotry towards everyone, we create a better community for everyone.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
The YouTube live chat poll today is, do you have a question that you would like Annie to ask at the White House press briefing should she get a question tomorrow? And then, of course, if you say yes, you have to tell us what that question is. And a lot of people chiming in. This is a great day to get on the YouTube live chat and just interact because we're very fluid today. We normally come in with a little bit of a plan. Today, the plan was, let's see what the plan is. And it's happening live. Annie is with us right now. So get on there and you can talk to all of us in the YouTube live chat. The time is 12:49. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Monday afternoon, Mark Reardon is out, but Brad Young is filling in with plenty to discuss regarding the 100th day of the Trump administration.
The Mark Reardon Show. Weekdays from 3 to 6. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk. Annie Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric.
What did she say? What you say? That you only meant well.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Frey Show.
Well, Annie is in Washington, D.C. She is part of the press pool, the national press pool for the first 100 days of Trump's term. She is reporting, but she also promises to make news somehow this afternoon. I don't know exactly what that's going to be, but she is going to make herself the center of attention somehow. We're all looking forward to that. Annie,
I don't know.
what are you going to do in that press room?
You keep treating this like if it were you.
Yes.
That's different.
Just do something crazy. We just want some good video. We want a viral video. That's all we want.
I like the idea of that.
Brad, go ahead. You had said you had some questions.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to let Annie say what she was going to say, but really, was there anything like once you got there, like, was it what you expected or was it different, and how so?
Let's see. Well, I've been to the White House before, like as a tourist, one time in last May with my son's 8th grade class. That was the first time I've ever been to Washington, D.C. And we did the thing where you like go stand in front of the White House on Pennsylvania Avenue and you take pictures through the fence. And that's cool. That was really awesome to see for the first time. Then my husband and I came back in July, and he had never been to DC. So we kind of did a non-tour guide version of what I remembered from the 8th grade class tour. But we went and did the same thing and stood there. So I kind of knew the layout a little bit of where I would be going. Now, of like all of the White House, I might have seen 4% of what the White House is right now. And that might be higher than what's really there. But it's so beautiful. The landscaping, the way we manicure our nation's capital, like the building that resembles the epicenter of the power of the United States government, which is ultimately a reflection of the United States people, the citizens, the voters. It's just really beautiful. And I kind of was surprised that people were friendlier than I thought that they have to be. I'll just put it that way. Like, I don't think that I'm going to go into the White House and I'm going to be treated like a concierge at a hotel would treat you when you walk in. People are working. People are working in a really super fast-paced environment. And, you know how it is with us even. Like, you spend a lot of your time moving from point A to point B. You're looking at your phone. You're hurrying to get to the next place to get the next thing done. So I don't really go to the White House thinking that people are going to be pleasant, but people were pleasant. And I didn't have any negative experiences at all. So I kind of think that just the general, maybe I'm just a little bit in awe of the actual opportunity to be on the White House grounds, but it was just a pleasant experience. I haven't ruined it yet. So it's been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool to be there, and just like, so far it's just been being there that has been like, wow.
Does the press move around, or is it like, oh no, you're part of the press that does the White House, or you're part of the press that does the Capitol building or whatever?
They have different press pools. So I believe that you're having Ryan Schmelz on at 1:25, and he is the Fox News Radio Capitol Hill correspondent. He's also listed as a White House correspondent. So I assume that Fox News has the ability to, maybe there are some vacations or a need to put somebody in the seat, maybe for Ducey or whoever it might be, that he could move over and pinch hit over there. But they have different press pools. They have the White House press pool. They have the traveling press pool. So the people who get on the plane and go with him Tuesday, the president is flying to Michigan for a rally. That traveling press pool is different than the White House press pool. So my understanding is at the White House, whatever's happening on the White House, they're kind of shifting around and going whatever there is a thing happening at the White House. Those people are stationary there, which I think would be a pretty cool job, because at least you're in a place, at least you've got kind of like a home base. The traveling pool would be awesome too. It's just kind of a different lifestyle.
Is there anything else you're hoping to, we got about 2 minutes here. Is there anything you're hoping to achieve either this afternoon, evening, or tomorrow? I know you're kind of like just taking it in, but like, you got to have a little bit of a goal to accomplish something, right?
Yeah. Today I'm hoping that they open up the executive order signings to the press so that I have the opportunity to do that. If it takes place in the Oval Office, the way a lot of these things do, I don't even feel like saying that out loud. I don't want to jinx it, but like the fact that I could potentially be moving to the Oval Office, like even that exists in the possibility of my future today blows my mind. So, I don't know. I'm just playing it by ear.
Well, you kind of answered my question, Annie, but what I was going to ask you is, I was looking at their schedule today. The Nationals are in town, 3:05 start. I'm assuming that's probably not in the plans today. I just wanted to confirm, though.
I had thought about that. I wondered when my husband and I came last July, we actually caught the Cardinals series here. Good game for the Cardinals, the one that we watched, the first one at least. And so I've been to the stadium. I would probably try to make that a priority if we wouldn't have just been to the stadium. But at the same time, that's something my husband and I do together. So we always try to hit those stadiums together.
I just didn't know how it compared to like the Oval Office. So I was just curious. That's all.
I don't like the stadium, honestly. It's kind of boring. Real quick, I asked an usher when we got in, because my husband always tries to try like whatever the local special food is.
Yeah.
My husband goes, "Do you have any special food we should go get?" And the guy's like, "No, not really."
What is special?
It's like, all right, we'll get,
is there anything special to
we'll get a hot
DC?
dog.
It's just a bunch of implants, isn't it? Implants. We couldn't get through the whole hour without something like that.
Gosh, Ryan.
It's a good run.
Yeah.
We ended up having some something that was kind of a Latina thing, but it wasn't like, oh, when you go to DC, when you go to Cleveland or Cincinnati, I should say, you got to get chili or whatever it was. No. And just ask the ushers. They're like, "No, there's nothing special here." So
oh my gosh.
Jared got a beer and a hot dog, and that was
well, at least try the gooey butter cake and the T-Ravs and just see how they are. Compare.
Yeah, exactly. If I find some, I'll let you know.
Of all the video you're gonna be doing, that's the one that people will be like, "Oh, you got to see the T-Rav video from Washington D.C."
Hey, Annie, real quick before we go, just don't leave there with any regrets. Like, I should have asked blank. You know, you're at a moment where you don't really know when you might get to do this again. So don't leave there with any regrets.
Yeah, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I have you to thank for that, Brad.
Annie's in DC. We are wrapping up this first hour. We're going to stay in touch with her, so you stay here.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate, paid for by Bayer.
Tomorrow, some of us will wake up and it will be our last day on this earth. It will be unexpected and without warning. Each year, 250,000 people will die from medical malpractice, the third leading cause of death in America. 43,000 will die in a car or truck crash. 6,000 will die working on the job. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan, and we represent many of these families. It's awful. Unfortunately, many times some of these family members are not speaking and never get to say, "I'm sorry" or "goodbye." If you're at odds with a loved one, listen closely. Pick up the phone. Call them. Say you're sorry. I promise a huge burden will be lifted from your heart and your soul will be renewed. Even if you're not wrong in your own mind, it doesn't matter. Death is bad enough. Death without closure and love will follow you the rest of your days. Trust me on this. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
History is happening in D.C. and 97.1 FM Talk is on the inside. Our very own Annie Frey has been selected to join the national press pool covering President Trump's 100th day in office.
I'm going to Washington and you're coming with me.
Exclusive access, unfiltered insight, local coverage, and we're inviting you along.
I'm Annie Frey, reporting from the White House throughout the day on 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie Goes to Washington is presented by Stewart's American Mortgage and Grasser Electric. KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
Protests
Attacks continue in Wisconsin. On Lisa Brady, Fox News. After the arrest of a county judge accused of helping a previously deported criminal suspect to evade immigration officers at her courthouse.
America, we're in the beginning of a constitutional crisis.
We're standing up for our immigrant community. We're standing up for Judge Dugan.
A mixture of local and state elected officials, community and faith leaders holding a news conference accusing the Trump administration of attacking the courts and the Constitution. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi tells Fox victims of crime deserve justice.
This is a criminal judge sitting on a criminal bench. And anyone who's going to let any criminal defendant out a back door is absurd.
The suspect the judge is accused of helping was appearing in court on misdemeanor battery charges. President Trump suggesting revenue from tariffs could be used for tax cuts, especially for those earning less than $200,000 a year. Republicans in Congress working on budget bills as trade talks continue with multiple countries.
Two sources are telling me that familiar with these talks, it's taking a little bit longer because these are larger trade deals, not just about bringing this tariff down or that tariff down. It's about an entire trade deal the president wants to make with all of these countries.
Fox Business's Edward Lawrence at the White House. Virginia Congressman Jerry Connolly, top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, says he will not seek re-election, confirming in a letter to colleagues his cancer has returned.
He was diagnosed with esophageal cancer about 6 months ago. The 75-year-old congressman saying, quote, "I'll do everything possible to continue to represent you and thank you for your grace." House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Connolly has tenaciously served the hardworking people of Northern Virginia with integrity.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz in Washington. Congressman Connolly also plans to step back from his leadership role. America is listening to Fox News.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk, my sponsor, my wireless company, has a better offer. The brand new free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan for $35 a month. You get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-213-5757. 800-213-5757.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Like early summer as we go through our Monday afternoon, sunshine, windy, 88 for the high tonight. Clouds take over. Very warm this evening, 69. Rain and thunderstorms developing well after midnight. Rain and thunderstorms into first thing Tuesday morning. Some could be strong to severe, 79. It's a waiting game to see if another batch develops mid to late afternoon. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
It's that time once again. You know what I'm talking about. Retirement Advisory Group's next seminar is coming up on Tuesday, May 20th. And I can't wait to see you there at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30 p.m. This is an easy event to attend. It does not take up a whole bunch of your time. You're going to be able to learn from Thomas Helbig, from Tammy and Bob Kershaw about how to protect your retirement. That's why they call it the Protecting Your Retirement Educational Event. Again, Tuesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m. at the Frontenac Hilton. I'm going to get there at 6 o'clock. I'm going to meet as many of you as I can, get there early and say hi. I would love to get to know you and learn your name. And then I turn you over, along with Mark Cox and Mark Reardon, to the folks at the Retirement Advisory Group. And then it's maybe 45 minutes of sitting in there and learning what they can do for you to make sure that your transition into retirement is a very, very easy one. You can reserve your spot online, 314-993-9494 at retirementkey.com.
Summer is on the way, or should I say the heat in St. Louis, it's on its way. Be here before we even know it. If you haven't had your air conditioners checked and set up and ready to go for this cooling season, or if you were told you might need a new one, or you just think this is the time of the year, this year is the time to just go ahead and replace it. Prices are down, 0% financing is available. It's still the best time to call me. Don't put it off. One easy number in Missouri and Illinois. It is 314-293-2600. Again, that's 314-293-2600 in Missouri and Illinois, or on the internet, bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. You want the best for your parents, but making the right senior living choice can feel overwhelming. Let me make it easier. New Perspective in Weldon Spring is where older adults can thrive, not just reside. At New Perspective, your loved one will enjoy chef-prepared meals, engaged activities, state-of-the-art technology, and a welcoming community that feels like home. You'll have peace of mind knowing that they have care available when they need it. Visit npseniorliving.com to schedule a tour today. New Perspective, where every day is a chance to live life on purpose.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
My gosh, we're an hour into the show. We haven't even told you what's on the show yet. Annie is in Washington, D.C., and that was the first hour. But get this. We talked about Ryan Schmelz. He's coming up, so obviously he's also live in D.C. from Capitol Hill, and he's at the White House. But at 2:45, Bill O'Reilly's going to be on the show. So, I mean, we haven't even, huge guest. We haven't even talked about it yet because Annie's in D.C. in the press pool. So
we're excited to have Bill O'Reilly on because 97.1 is going to be hosting and broadcasting exclusively the News Nation town hall that Bill O'Reilly, Chris Cuomo, and Stephen A. Smith will be having with Donald Trump on Wednesday evening about his first 100 days. That's exclusive here. It's 7 to, I believe, 9 p.m.
Yeah, it depends on how long the town hall goes. But that's all. So this is the 100 days coverage we're doing this week. It's not just us. I mean, this is a national thing that's happening. The Trump administration is doing different days. Annie said in the last hour that today they're focusing on immigration. Obviously, they're focusing on their strengths first. They think the economy is a strength. They're going to talk about the economy on the 100th day. Scott Bessent's going to be in the room with Annie tomorrow. We don't know what questions will be like, whether she's going to get to ask one, but that's today's YouTube live chat poll. Do you have a question that you would like Annie to ask at the White House press briefing? And, you know, that could very well be a part of what she asks. I mean, she's going to be monitoring the chat just like we are. I'm not saying your question will be asked verbatim, but depending on the topic, it's very fluid. So we'll see what happens. And obviously we'll be carrying all of that live as it happens here on the Annie Frey Show with lots and lots of video throughout the day, today and tomorrow. As Brad mentions, Wednesday night, we are playing the town hall of President Trump. Now, this is going to be interesting. This is why we're like, okay, yeah, we'll definitely do that exclusively here. Bill O'Reilly and Stephen A. Smith and Chris Cuomo. Mm-hmm. I mean, what a
quite a mix.
Right.
What a group. And they're leading off this town hall with President Trump. That would be the 101st day. So just after the 100 days on Wednesday night at 7:00. So with that in mind, we're focusing on media today, just the role of the media, national media, all in Washington, D.C. today. So a lot of the Fox News anchors that you know are usually in New York are there in D.C. for this big week. And somehow Annie's there too, which is super cool. But let's talk about the media. Let's talk about 60 Minutes. This is a clip that is making the rounds today. Now, before you play it, 60 Minutes has been a monster news show for a long time. Now, if you think I'm just setting that up because we're going to play this clip that really has kind of rocked the media world today, I'm not overdoing it. This was the #1 show on television, I think, in almost every category. It was beating even major primetime sitcoms and stuff in the heyday for like 20 years. From the mid-70s through the mid-90s, 60 Minutes was all but the #1 show most of the time. So this is a major U.S. institution, okay? Scott Pelley, I think that's how you pronounce his name, is a host. You've seen him 1,000 times. If you're not watching this, you'll hear him. You probably recognize his voice, but we're going to play the video here on YouTube as well as we talk about it. He comes out at the very end of 60 Minutes last night. And my guess is the brass at Paramount did not know this was going to happen. So I love that stuff. I love it when the corporate's like, whoa, and these people are like, yeah, because of course we're in the media and we love that stuff. So we're going to play the whole announcement that Scott Pelley made on 60 Minutes last night. Here you go.
In tonight's Last Minute, a note on Bill Owens, who until this past week was executive producer of 60 Minutes. He was our boss. Bill was with CBS News nearly 40 years, 26 years at 60 Minutes. He covered the world, covered combat, the White House. His was a quest to open minds, not close them. If you've ever worked hard for a boss because you admired him, then you understand what we've enjoyed here. Bill resigned Tuesday. It was hard on him and hard on us, but he did it for us and you. Stories we pursued for 57 years are often controversial. Lately, the Israel-Gaza war and the Trump administration. Bill made sure they were accurate and fair. He was tough that way. But our parent company, Paramount, is trying to complete a merger. The Trump administration must approve it. Paramount began to supervise our content in new ways. None of our stories has been blocked, but Bill felt he lost the independence that honest journalism requires. No one here is happy about it, but in resigning, Bill proved one thing. He was the right person to lead 60 Minutes all along.
So they're painting a picture of this guy who's run 60 Minutes for a long time, Bill Owens. In media, I don't know the guy's name, but this apparently he's been a bigwig for a long time at 60 Minutes. And they're saying, well, recently, though, our parent company, Paramount, and this is where it's like, ooh, this is pretty salacious because you're putting yourself kind of on the line here, Scott Pelley. Our corporate owners have been pressuring Bill Owens to censor the news. Wow. Okay. And you're going to call him out live on the air?
That's some heavy charges.
That's some big stuff. But what they're saying is they're trying to tell us not to cover Trump, basically to stop bashing Trump constantly, which is all you do. And they're like, we have too much integrity to stop constantly bashing Trump 96% of the time. So they went on live on the radio or on the air, on the TV, and they called out their corporate overlords. And I think that is brave. I'm not going to say it's not.
Yeah.
It is. But the reasons they're doing it are ridiculous. He even said they haven't censored a single story, first of all. And they just last week, for instance, I think two of the number of story, I can't remember how many they do in a typical 60 Minutes, probably varies, but at least two of them were full on anti-Trump. You could say propaganda if you're on our side, you'd say information if you're on the other side, but they're fully anti-Trump.
Yeah.
And so for them to say, oh, we can't believe the censorship, like you are censorship. You don't present anything else other than anti-Trump propaganda. So they decided to put themselves on the line. They believe in what they're doing so much, which I do appreciate. But they decided to put themselves on the line and say, we're calling out our corporate overlords. Keep in mind, in the context of where we are with 60 Minutes, here's the reason that this is happening. 60 Minutes is currently being sued by the Trump administration for clear libel. Well, you could call it slander since it's on the air. It's not written. Libel's written. So they're being sued by the Trump administration because, if you recall, I know our attention spans are short, but back in October, 60 Minutes sat down with Kamala Harris. And somehow, I don't know how we got this, because this would typically be the stuff that would end up on the chopping block and you'd never know they did it. But somehow we got the actual answer to Kamala Harris to this question from 60 Minutes?
Well, yeah, the reason we got it was because there was outrage from the public on this.
Well, but I don't even remember how the video came out, because usually they'd edit it and nobody'd even know.
They released it.
But they apparently released it. I don't know if it was because of the lawsuit or if the lawsuit came afterwards. But we're going to first play for you the actual answer that Kamala Harris gave to this question. Here you go.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems...
Okay, so that's the real question and answer that happened on 60 Minutes. And boy, it's amazing how quickly we forget how bad she was at interviews. I think America has forgotten how bad she was at interviews.
They wanted to forget.
Because she is somehow still leading the polls for Democrats in 2028.
Maybe they didn't want to forget.
No, I think they've actually forgotten how bad she did.
Probably.
And they're like, yeah, but she was really likable or something. Yeah, 2020 vision in the past. So that's the actual answer that she gave. This is the edited answer that they did. I mean, this is full on propaganda that they said, well, this is how she answered the question.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it's
now that's the edited version. Unbelievable. This seems like an open and shut case for the Trump administration, saying you actively tried to prop up my political opponent, still beat you, but you actively tried to prop her up. And look, is there collusion between 60 Minutes and the Harris campaign? Maybe. No idea. It could be that 60 Minutes just decided, you know what, we're just going to do this anyway because we want her to win. That is breaking story here. That is not journalism. That is ethical. That is the opposite of actual journalism. So we live in this weird world right now where somehow corporate telling them that they need to stop doing pure propaganda is enough for them to say, I've had it. I'm not going to stand for somebody telling me that I can't do pure propaganda for one side, because they're currently being sued. And by the way, the other wrinkle to this story is that Paramount is currently trying to pull off a merger with some other media company. I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't a big name that I knew, but they're trying to buy out another media entity. To do so, they need approval from the Trump administration. So you can see why the Paramount is going, look, maybe we need to present the other side 1 out of 20 times. Like, is that too much?
Can we get 5%?
5%? Could you do something for us here? We're trying to pull off a merger.
Yeah. There's a Ryan, I sent you a clip. It's Joe Rogan. He's talking about, like, you're talking about present it 1 out of 20 times. But what Joe Rogan here is saying is like, there has to be something that the Trump administration does that both sides can agree on. So
here, play it. There you go.
America, because like when good things happen, do you not want them to happen because a Republican is president? Because that's a very un-American way to look at things. And I think that's where we're at these days. I think there's a giant chunk of our population that is so wrapped up in these social media squabbles and owning people online and talking and listening to videos and TikToks. They're so wrapped up in this us versus them that they can't see that we're supposed to all be in this together. And even if you don't like that guy, if Trump gets in and he does something that's awesome for the country, you should say that's awesome for the country.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really good that terrorists aren't sneaking into our southern border. That's really good. It's really good that they find all the criminals that are taking over apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado, and root them out. Yeah, that's really good. They should deport them. Yeah, they're criminals. We shouldn't have to deal with that. Yeah, maybe we should fix everything that's going on in North Carolina. Yeah, that's good for everybody. It's like these things are common sense.
Look, first of all, Brad, can you tell me what's behind those beeps? I'm just curious.
No, not on air.
Oh, okay. Can you tell me off air? There's a reason why these podcasts are beating mainstream news. it's been a while since I've looked at the numbers, but there are times when 97.1 is actually beating CNN. We're just in St. Louis, ladies and gentlemen. We're not outside of St. Louis unless you're on the app. But I mean, we're a St. Louis radio station, and there are times that our numbers are better than a given program on CNN. That's real.
Download the free Odyssey app.
And that one was for the corporate overlords. But it's amazing that media has shifted so much because they have fully cashed in their integrity. And these powerhouses that used to exist, I mean, it's not a new topic. We talk about this a lot, but it's amazing to watch it happen in real time, that these institutions that you've trusted for a long time, and really the names matter, like the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, these big legacy CBS names and stuff. Those names still carry a lot of weight, but people know when they tune into those or they read those what they're getting.
Yeah.
And that used to not be the case. And it's really unfortunate that to find somebody that you feel like you can trust. And look, I don't know if you're a fan of Joe Rogan or not. He's killing it. Yeah. I mean, the dude has an enormous audience, and it's why when he says something like that, people take notice because there's so many people paying attention to it. And it's not a crazy message. It has a couple cuss words in it, as I understand. I don't know what they are. Brad's going to tell me later because I'm not familiar with those words.
Fluffing.
But when he says something like that, it's the majority of America. They're going, yeah, if he does something you like, celebrate it.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's really okay. And you don't have to spin everything all the time. And you know what? You've done it for so long that you're going extinct.
Yeah. And he's like pointing out too, it's like, it's just because you disagree with the other side doesn't mean that you have to think that the other side is evil.
No,
I'm so past that mentality. The other side isn't, because they disagree with you, evil. They just think that they have a better way of doing it than you do, a different way. That's not evil. It's a difference of opinion. And this is also why we need to have conversations and speak to one another so that we can sort these out. Maybe you learn something from them and maybe they learn something from you.
It's the difference between standing for something in principle and standing for politics. We will have this discussion once in a while, and we'll wrap here because we got to get to Ryan Schmelz. But we'll have this discussion once in a while, especially during the Biden administration, where we would just on a Friday usually say, is there anything that Biden has done? And it was kind of to prove a point, unfortunately, that you've liked. And we'd try really hard to find some sort of piece of legislation or something that's bipartisan that we all liked. Sometimes we'd mention, the CHIPS Act may be okay. He was spending a lot of money. And in fact, looking back at it, you're like, actually, they may have been siphoning that money off, which is what we're all complaining about with all these NGOs. But we would try to find things so that we weren't being just politics, because it's about more than politics. It's about principle. And finding people who represent those principles. Those things shift over time. Obviously, being a conservative today is not the same as being a conservative 20 years ago. But you try to land on solid ground. All right, we're long. We're going to go to Ryan Schmelz next, Fox News Radio, Capitol Hill, and White House correspondent. He is going to give us what's going on the other side of Capitol Hill. Probably talk this big, beautiful bill. Are we close? It's the 100 days coming up on the Trump administration, and Annie Frey is there. Keep it here. We'll keep checking in with her, and of course, Ryan Schmelz next.
Stewart's American Mortgage, my friend Stewie, this is where you go to ensure that the bagel loan is yours, because you can't get the bagel loan anywhere else other than with Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage. The easy way to contact him is by phone. You can call him or text him directly. My generation, we like to text, and he's happy to do that. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Reach out to Stewie and say, I need a bagel loan. Tell me what I need to do to qualify. He'll go through the process with you. He'll explain it in detail so you can understand with that bagel loan why you pay $0 in closing costs. Not tucked away, not hidden, not rolled into the loan. $0 in closing costs. Secure a low rate for yourself. If you're doing a refinance, a lower rate than you were paying before, or maybe you take some cash out and invest in getting rid of some high interest credit card debt, maybe an improvement on your home, whatever it is, Stewie can help you. 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
If you're the victim of a car accident or suffered a work injury in St. Louis, you want attorneys who live here and work here to handle your case. You want someone who knows St. Louis and is about St. Louis. You want Kaufman Townsley. Call 314-500-5000.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. The winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
At the Williams residence, everything looked kind of the same from the outside. But inside, their lives just got way happier. 3 years of inflation and debt had crushed them. But for the first time, they had the cash to secure their retirement, pay off bills, and plan their future. They didn't win the lottery exactly. They did a genius financial strategy called the Sell and Stay program from Truehold. It's easy. Their home's value had rebounded greatly, so they quickly sold it to Truehold and banked all that equity in cash. But since they weren't ready to move, they could stay put with an easy, affordable lease. Truehold even paid their property taxes, home insurance, and essential home repairs. Truehold unlocks your wealth without uprooting your life. Get a Truehold offer now while your home's value is high. Call 855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without having to move. That's Truehold.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Celebrate April with store-wide savings on all in-stock jewelry at the Diamond Shop, located at 12 North Central in Clayton. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. Stop in today.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at gslhonorflight.org. And for HVAC services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
You ready? Seems like everybody's got a price. I wonder how they sleep at night. When the sale comes first and the truth comes second, just stop for a minute and smile. Why is everybody so serious? Acting so damn
Brian, first of all, it's all the president, especially on the 18 important trading partners. We're doing bespoke deals, and he's going to be intimately involved in every one. 2 weeks ago, when we had the Japanese delegation come in, he started it in the Oval, and then we took them into the negotiating room. So he laid the groundwork, told them personally how important the relationship was, but also how important a fair deal for the American people is.
That's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He will be the focus of the attention tomorrow. Well, the economy really will be the focus of the attention tomorrow for the 100th day of Trump's term. We have Ryan Schmelz with us right now. He's Fox News Radio, Capitol Hill, and White House, and Annie Frey Show correspondent. Hi, Ryan.
Hey, how are you doing, Brad?
It's Ryan and Brad actually both with you today. So
nice.
So here's the deal. Annie Frey is in the White House today. Walking around doing the press pool stuff.
I saw her at the briefing. Yes.
Did you? Oh, okay. So I didn't know if you were like which side you were on.
I wasn't there. I saw her on the TV.
You saw her on
Fox
TV?
did it live.
Okay, yeah, we did too. We played some of that back last hour. So we're talking to you a little bit more about Capitol Hill, and there's a lot of pomp and circumstance kind of going on in the White House with the 100th day this week. But Congress is still not in session right now.
They are coming back today, and I believe they're actually having a debate on the floor about a bill right now.
Okay, so are they focused on what we assume they're going to be focused on for the next few weeks, which is the budget bill?
They are, yes, absolutely. We actually just did an interview with Chairwoman Lisa McClain, which will be airing a little bit later on today on the Fox News Rundown podcast. So I think the big thing with what she's focusing on is, yes, this one big, beautiful bill. And the first big step in this process is going to be the reconciliation markup process. So that means that each committee that is supposed to be finding these cuts and crafting some of the legislative pieces to this they're going to be having their committee hearings, and a lot of the focus is probably going to be on the Energy and Commerce Committee. The reason for that is the committee that oversees Medicare, Medicaid, other entitlement programs like that. They've been tasked to find over $800 billion in cuts. So, of course, Democrats' line of argument is that there's no way that you can cut upwards of $850 billion without touching Medicaid, Medicare, other programs like that.
So, Ryan, are Republicans talking about trying to find different funding mechanisms for this thing? Because obviously they're going to do tax cuts. We don't know exactly what that'll look like, but they're going to do tax cuts and make those things at least semi-permanent, hopefully permanent. But are they trying to figure out how to add revenue in creative ways right now?
Well, you heard the Trump administration float the idea of a wealth tax in order to pay for some of this stuff, but it doesn't look like that Speaker Johnson and other Republicans are really flirting with that idea. What has been kind of floated to me is that, and it's probably not getting talked about enough, is this idea of using energy as a way to raise revenue. There's going to be new permitting projects that they're hoping to get through with this reconciliation process, expansion of different American energy platforms, whether it's oil or natural gas. And that's going to be a way in which they expect to raise revenue and try to pay for some of this stuff. But of course, there's still a lot of pushback about the plan for how this pays for itself. And that's where you saw a lot of those disagreements between conservative members and more moderate members earlier on. And I think those disagreements are still there, right? There's a big lack of trust from House Republicans, at least the more conservative House Republicans, with the Senate. They don't feel that the Senate has the political will to find some of these spending cuts that they're pushing for.
Ryan, you may laugh at this question. That's okay if you do. But is there any chance that there could be a balanced budget to come out of this? Not that we get out of national debt, but just could they balance this thing?
Probably not out of this specifically, because a lot of what happens with this is, kind of just seeing what happens in the future in terms of math, right? What's going to happen to revenues if the Trump tax cuts are extended? They have 4.5 trillion tax cuts in there. How much in terms of spending cuts can they find with this? And then how is it going to raise any additional revenue through economic growth or oil permitting, like we've been mentioning? If they're going to get any closer to a balanced budget, the process you're going to want to watch for is actually down the road with what we're going to call the appropriations process. So that is what Republicans have been pushing for with this Congress, which is 12 individual spending bills that would fund the entire federal government. However, the problem with that is that they're really late in this process. They were supposed to start this process last September. It's now almost May, and they haven't signed or passed one appropriations bill yet. So getting that done is going to be very complicated.
Ryan, there are conservative members of, especially the House, maybe the Senate too, Rand Paul, of course, who, not Rand Paul in this instance, but conservative, like Chip Roy, for instance. They're usually pretty outspoken, very fiscally minded Republicans, but they're on board with this. So can you reconcile, in my head at least, how these typically hawk budget guys are on board with this bill when it doesn't actually balance the budget?
They're on board with it to an extent. The reality is that when they decided to jump on board and vote for this, because keep in mind, they only voted for a framework. Okay. They did not vote for final passage. The last thing that got them across the finish line was that Leader Thune came out and said, we're committed to getting to $1.5 trillion in spending cuts. They felt that was enough to get them to say yes, but I don't think that guarantees that they say no they say yes in the end, because there's still a lot of hesitation and a lot of concern amongst, the fiscal hawk House Republicans about what the Senate is willing to do and how far the Senate's willing to go when it comes to spending cuts.
Hey, Ryan, this is Brad. I noticed that there has been a lot of talk about the budget bill and everything like that, but right below the surface, there's also a lot of talk about rescissions and a rescissions package. Is there any news or update on that front? Where do we fall on that?
Yeah, we can break some news right now. Lisa McClain, the chairwoman for the House Republicans, said just in our interview before I came on here that rescissions will probably not happen this week, but they are expected to vote on a rescissions bill maybe next week. And that'll include cuts to NPR, cuts to PBS, as well as cuts to USAID. I'm not sure exactly what the number is. I believe it's around anywhere between 10 to 20 billion. So not the biggest rescissions bill out there, but it is a first step.
So just to clarify, Ryan, they would pass the budget as it is or as it becomes, and then go back and start making some of those major kind of headline cuts or Doge cuts. That's how that would work.
Yeah, or they could put the Doge cuts into the reconciliation process. That's certainly possible too. Pretty much the reconciliation is going to be a whole bunch of things shoved in there, and they pass it all as President Trump says, one big beautiful bill. This is how they got Obamacare across the finish line without needing 60 votes. Rescissions, they can pretty much do that at any time. And I think there have been some questions that Republicans have laid out there in the past when it comes to how the administration is going about some of these changes, because they're doing most of it through executive order. And there's some Republicans might say, hey, look, rescissions only needs 50 votes in the Senate. Just send us what you want cut, and we can make that change really quickly.
Yeah, that sounds like really good news. I'm trying to find the good news here, Ryan. That sounds like good news because it to me, what we're going to get is once they pass this bill, whatever it looks like, we're going to get a lot of headlines that say, hey, Republican only bill or whatever was passed and doesn't balance the budget or puts us X amount into debt. But that number would only be temporary then, because they would go back and cut more, right?
Yeah, they could always come back and cut whatever they want because the president can simply send a rescissions bill to Congress at any time. So as long as they control Congress, they have any opportunity they want to pass a rescissions bill anytime.
That's great. I mean, I'm really glad to hear that, because whatever the number is, then you'd know, well, it's probably going to go down from here, even if we don't quite get to zero. I'm going to switch topics here a little bit with you, Ryan, because President Trump was tweeting out something that, or truthing out, depending on which avenue he was taking, something that he has mentioned before, but hasn't gotten a lot of traction, I don't feel like. And it's maybe because things just happen so dang fast. But he's really been saying that he wants to either end income tax or make it go away for people under 200,000. Lately, it's been 150, depending on, the day. But is that something that we could see happen this year, or is this a long-term goal for the Trump administration?
I mean, I guess they could put it in reconciliation, though I think it'd be hard to get that past what's called the Senate parliamentarian, because the rules of budget reconciliation are that it's supposed to be deficit neutral. If you put something as bold as a reduction of the income tax completely, I'm not quite sure that would go over well. Now, I think it depends on if you were to replace it with a different type of revenue, whether it be sales tax, property tax, what not. So I'm just hearing about this for the first time. Certainly, President Trump has floated a lot of different ideas over the last 100 days or so. This one, I mean, I haven't heard too much on it yet from House Republicans. I mean, there's always been Republicans out there who want to see the income tax abolished altogether. But in this circumstance, I just don't really know too much about it just yet.
Yeah, I may be asking questions that are like, they're so fast and you may not know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is that something that Congress could even do? Or is that something that needs to be passed by a 2/3 majority, filibuster proof? Or is that something they could do with 50 senators?
I think if they were to do an income tax bill like that, it would probably need 60 votes. That's what I mean. This is one of the reasons why they use the reconciliation process for the Trump tax cuts, because it's a way for them to get a simple majority of 50 votes. You can't really do that. If they're going to do that down the road, that would be very hard to do. Yes, because they probably would need those 60 votes to do that. So therefore, the chances of it probably passing or getting 60 votes would be a little hard. And, you're seeing a lot of Republicans out there who are now kind of on this side of, hey, look, we like tax cuts, but we want to make sure we pay for them. So I'm not sure that would go over with every single Republican in the House or the Senate, because I think there'd be at least a couple who come out and say, whoa, if we're going to do that, we need to find a way to pay for it.
So today, as last question for you, Ryan, I'll let you go, but today is the 28th of April. Is there any timeline that you're hearing that we could have a budget bill?
They want it done by Memorial Day weekend.
So
that is the timeline
okay.
Speaker Johnson has put out there for a while now. Lisa McClain in our interview just now was still very committed to it. She said it's going to be messy. She said that to pretty much buckle up because it's going to be wild, but they still have every intention of getting this thing done in the next 3 weeks. It's a very bold promise. It's a very bold goal. Can they pull it off? Yes, they can, but it's going to be very difficult.
Ryan Schmelz, we always appreciate your reporting from Capitol Hill, Fox News Radio, Capitol Hill, and White House correspondent Ryan Schmelz. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you, Ryan and Brad.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I mentioned balanced budget about 15 times in that interview because that is, to me, the ultimate goal. I don't think they're going to get there, but it's just good news to hear that even if they don't, that doesn't, the budget that they pass won't include a lot of the cuts that they're still going to do.
Right.
So that, to me, that's important to note. Because the headline will say one thing, but then the reality of how they're going about it, that's how they're getting a lot of these really fiscally conservative Republicans on board.
I asked that question about rescissions. I had no idea they were going to break news on that. But my excitement about that is that you only need a simple majority, which is great, both House and Senate.
Absolutely.
And that's easy to get past because they have both of those. And that's something, cuts are something that both, like even your real fiscally hawkish and your more moderate Republicans can get behind. And it's people like Lindsey Graham and Senator John Kennedy that are really pushing those. And to hear him say, hey, they're looking at something, what does he say, next week? That's phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to that. We don't have a taxation problem. We have a spending problem.
Yeah, we do. I know that a lot of Washington people and people in our industry really get caught up in it's so messy. Gosh, they can't get their act together.
Should be messy.
Who cares? It should be messy because you have a lot of different factions. And I'm not even talking about Democrats. Democrats are just going to be no. Republicans are trying to figure out how to get there. And I want them to be as hardline as they can throughout this whole process. I get that you do have to pass a budget at some point, but if it takes beyond Memorial Day, I don't care. Like I've said before, you have people, and I mean good, conservative, fiscal-minded people saying you got to pass these tax cuts. It's like a talking point that they say, and every time I hear it, I go, yeah, you do have to pass them by December. You don't need to hurry because this won't affect anything until next year. Now, a lot of people want to know before that. I understand that. If you're paying a lot in taxes, especially the business stuff that's in there, I get it. But for practical purposes, there's not a hard Memorial Day deadline to pass the tax cuts for 2026.
Right. But I think that deadline has everything to do with it being a reconciliation bill. Because if you can't get your reconciliation bill across the line, then you're looking at 60 plus from the Senate.
Oh, I'm fully confident they will have a reconciliation bill. I don't think that's the question. It's just a matter of when I hear, and it's Fox News, it's like a lot of guests will get on these national platforms and programs and say, this is about tax cuts. You got to pass tax cuts. Agreed. I just don't get the urgency for doing it for next year right now. That's all. But I like the process. I think this is a good process because it's messy. It's probably better because if everybody was just in lockstep, you'd know, that was a little too easy. Making cuts is hard.
Yeah, if you had an entire Congress full of people that represented every facet of the American country and everybody agreed on everything immediately, that would be very suspect.
Well, we're here for it, and we're going to keep watching it because it is super important. I mean, to everything, to national security, to the value of your money, to every grocery you buy. I mean, this stuff affects everything. And it affects your kids probably more than it affects you. It is 1:44. We got to take a break. We're going a little long. We're going to come right back and talk a little bit lighter stuff. Jonathan Kite was on the show last week, and Brad was able to go to the show. And I'm anxious to hear how it was. And then, we're going to play back some of the liners that he cut for us as Donald Trump. If you missed that, stick around.
This is the Annie Frey Show. The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. You don't hear fast talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Drury Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Drury Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Drury Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit Lance, DRURYlaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Let's just face it, right? Your home should work for you, not against you. Hi, it's Kim. And if you've been dreaming of a new kitchen, bathroom, or a finished basement, now's the time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design. They're St. Louis's trusted experts in turning houses into dream homes. Just imagine this, a spa-like bathroom, maybe a chef-inspired kitchen, or how about a cozy basement perfect for some movie nights? Their team handles everything from design to installation, so you can just sit back and enjoy the process. Visit lakesidearty.com today to start your dream renovation.
Guys, it's time to take charge of your health with my friends at Victory Men's Health. Mark Cox here. I already love what they do at Victory. They do hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, even vitamin deficiencies. Now they're offering specialty cardiovascular testing and even early detection cancer screening. Visit them at one of their 4 great locations, now in Sunset Hills, Town and Country, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to victorymenshealth.com.
Spring into a new home with amazing savings at TR Hughes. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with TR Hughes Homes, and we are currently offering half off up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs on brand new to-be-built homes at select TR Hughes communities. That's right, half up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs. Visit trhughes.com for details.
The choice of a home builder is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
However, you really should visit trhughes.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you
Annie
how
Frey
lending to the
Show
market
is
much
streaming
safer than owning
online.
the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
I'm Danny Cohn, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This past week, the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust and remembered the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. As Jews, when we recall the atrocities of the Holocaust, we say, never again. This is not a slogan or a tagline. It's a responsibility we all share to prevent the systematic hatred from going unchecked. When we work together to fight against prejudice and bigotry towards everyone, we create a better community for everyone.
Well, today's the day. Annie is at the White House, and she was in the press briefing this morning. If you were listening to the show a little bit earlier, you can rewind on the Odyssey app if you're using that. She joined us for the first hour to talk about her experience over there. Today, we have a YouTube live chat poll that is in that theme. Do you have a question that you would like Annie to ask at the White House press briefing? So we got 2 options for you, yes or no. But really, we are soliciting questions from you. So if you have a question you are dying, or if you had the opportunity to ask Caroline Levitt, we want you to jump on the chat, vote in the poll, say
ask
yes.
it right now, too, because I'm going to read a few of these in a minute.
Yeah, and leave us a comment saying what your question is. We'll star that comment. We'll pass that on to Annie, and we'll probably read it on air. The time right now is 1:48. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Foley Foundation works tirelessly to bring American hostages home. Kim St. here. We're raising awareness about the Foley Foundation's mission to reunite families, hold captors accountable, and prevent future hostage taking. Visit 971talk.com/events to learn more.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Frey Show.
Looking through your questions here. Let's see. I like this one from Donna, and I'm just picking these at random. It says, I would ask Mr. President, what do you want the country to be like after you leave office? How would you define the success of your presidency in regards to what this would look like? I like those big picture
Yes.
Like, what's your legacy? I mean, you're basically halfway through it. So
Donna, that is a great question.
Be tough to answer right now. And I don't know whether Annie is actually going to get to ask questions of the president or not. I mean, hey, I'm not going to say it won't. It's impossible. Yeah. It probably won't happen. But she may be at the signing of the executive order this afternoon. And you know how those things go. We've carried them before.
Yeah.
He'll sign it. And then people just yell questions. He just starts talking. Yeah. That's the way he does. So could Annie actually, I just want her to come home and tell us that she yelled, Mr. President, at least a couple times. I don't care if she doesn't get called on, it's okay. But she's got to at least yell and like hold a pen and be waving at him or something like that. Let's see here. Other questions before we get to the Jonathan Kite stuff. My question is, will he at least reduce the real estate taxes for seniors? Mine have gone up $900 since 2023. Great topic. I don't think that's the federal government. I think that's more local and state. So I don't know that one would come up, but I really hope that somehow that happens. Very near and dear to my heart. Here's Jackie says, what measures are they taking for true budget cuts? We need Massey and others to sign on, and they won't without large cuts. Completely agree. Will taxes be eliminated on Social Security? I don't know the answer to that. That's probably why that's a good question. And last one from Scooter. My question is, what are the odds that President Trump will sign the big, beautiful bill this month? Well, we just talked about that a little bit with Ryan Schmelz. And I just don't think, hey, if they're saying Memorial Day, let's hope for July 4th. And let's hope it's good. Ultimately, that's the point. It's not just get it done. It's get it done well. So this weekend, Brad went to see comedian Jonathan Kite. Now, Jonathan Kite was here on Friday.
Yes.
We all said afterwards, and even since then, that he was just great. He was great to talk to.
He was phenomenal. Super
funny. I assume the show was the same.
Oh, yeah. So, the show had a whole flow to it, and it wasn't just like he goes up there and does impressions. He is a comedian in the purest and truest sense of the word. His comedy is observations and like, why are we doing like this? But then every so often in the course of making his point or his observation, that's when he throws in a Tom Hanks.
So he's talking about everyday stuff. He's going, what's the deal with all the different brush sizes and toothbrushes?
Well, no, not like that. I mean, it's more cultural topics that he's noticing. And he was talking one time, he was talking about how he was trying to figure out to do his character on Two Broke Girls. He was trying to figure out how he was going to speak Ukrainian because he had to deliver lines in Ukrainian. And the producers of the show didn't know that he didn't speak it. So he just started texting his friends. And he's like, I felt like in the process of texting my friends, I started feeling like Jason Statham. And he's like texting his friends and he's doing Jason Statham, leaving this voicemail about like, do you know anybody that speaks Ukrainian? And then he would go into Liam Neeson. I don't know who you are, but if you speak Ukrainian.
That's funny because when we were talking to him, and I don't even know if that was on air or off, we were saying, it's got to be weird. There are people who are easier to mimic than others.
Yeah.
And when you hear Jason Statham, I've never heard a person even try to do that.
Oh, Jason Statham.
But once you hear it, you go, yes. Oh yeah, that's that.
Yeah, and he is like in the format, in the way that he did it, Jason Statham is a great impression to do. So like,
why?
Once you get it down, because he's so unique sounding, and when you get it down, you're like, because you hear certain things. I don't know. I watch a lot of Jason Statham movies, but you can hear Jason Statham. You hear something somebody says, you're like, oh man, I could hear Jason Statham saying that. Now, have you ever been to a comedy show, Ryan? Because this was an experience, and this was also impressive of him, was watching him wrangle the crowd. Have you ever been to a comedy show where you have a rowdy member?
Not really, no.
So this is the first time I had ever experienced that.
You had a heckler?
Not a heckler,
Kinda?
but a guy that's like, didn't realize we didn't pay to hear him talk and do his commentary.
Really?
Yes. And so he was sitting, he was sitting right behind me. He handled it the way I would have as a substitute teacher. It's initially, we're not good with that behavior, but then he would grab this guy's energy and redirect it toward a positive way. And so this guy never at any point
felt what was the guy drunk or something? Just yelling out
or something.
Something. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, drunk or something. So
he spins it into the show.
Yeah, he spins it into
not
the
easy
show,
to do.
And that guy left, and he, as the night went on, did less and less interruptions, and he left happy with the show too.
So this guy wouldn't stop? He kept doing it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was constant, but yeah, I would say every 2-3 minutes he'd be like, and he would yell something.
Gosh, no, that's a lot.
You need to stop, bud. Like, it was to the point where I was looking at the other people in the audience, and they were looking at the guy.
Wow.
Didn't get Jonathan off his game at all. Powered through, redirected the energy, made a great show out of it. Like, made my wife laugh like a squirt bottle. For those of you who aren't listening, if you don't know, it's that sound that people make when they start laughing really hard. Made her laugh like a squirt bottle. It was funny.
Here's Jonathan Kite on Friday endorsing the Andy Frey Show.
Andy Frey, okay? Sometimes I have vocal fry, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the unbelievable at 10 and 11, some say. An 11, some say a Spinal Tap 11. Andy Frey, what a fox. What an unbelievable fox. Not Fox News, this fox, okay? Believe me. Fantastic. Listen all the time because she's so smart, so unbelievably smart. And then if I have to do it in a big room, Andy Frey, you love her. She's so great. Look at this Annie. Isn't she fantastic? So fantastic. Like Mr. Fantastic, Fantastic Four.
Did you get to talk to him at all at the show?
Yeah, I got to talk to him afterwards, and he was like super, super gracious. He's like, man, thank you for coming out. I hear this a lot whenever I go to the shows. It's like, we're always really surprised to see people that come out and they say it on there. Oh yeah, you got to say it.
Yeah.
But then to actually see them come out, it's always great to see him. And he sold hats and all sorts of things, signed my hat. So it's great.
Cool. Yeah. We love talking to comedians, and some of them are really easy to talk to. Other ones, they're funny, but you can tell they're doing their material. And either way, it's funny. It's just a difference in style. And the cool thing about him was that he can do impressions of anything. And like you said, he could just kind of flow. And so you just throw something out there and we just kind of go. It was a really fun interview. You can get the podcast, Andy Frey, on Odyssey.com.
Oh, yeah. I saw one of our listeners there, Kate Team. So I just wanted to shout her out.
Cool. Well, stick around. 2:00 is coming up, and we are interviewing Bill O'Reilly at the end of the 2:00 hour.
AirComfortService.com. You are looking for the people you can trust to come into your home and rectify the air conditioner that isn't doing the trick. It's blowing, but it's not blowing cool air, or it's not blowing when it's supposed to be. You're not achieving that comfort zone temperature. Whatever it is for you, you want to make sure that you have someone that you can trust to come into your home and resolve that issue for you. If you are looking for maintenance, somebody who can come in and ensure that you're doing the, month-to-month maintenance, the season-to-season maintenance on your HVAC system that helps keep you from having to deal with those very costly repairs, well, you can also reach out to Air Comfort Service and sign up for their maintenance plan. And if you pay monthly, the 12th month is free. Air Comfort Service is there to keep you in your comfort zone. They can help keep you comfortable with the purified air in your home as well. If you talk to them about a whole home air purifier, everything you need to know about HVAC, insulation, all of it at aircomfortservice.com.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
When you enter a place of business, you're owed a legal duty that the place of business is safe for you to shop in. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you suffered an injury at a place of business, our duty is to protect you after that harm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.com.
Camping season is here, and so is the Apache Village RV Open House. Join us Friday, May 2nd and Saturday, May 3rd at two great locations, 9001 Dunn Road in Hazelwood and 971 Wilmer Road in Wentzville. Apache Village RV, family owned for over 50 years, is here to help you hit the road and make lifelong memories. Explore 200 plus new and used RVs from Jayco, Keystone, Fleetwood, and Bontrager Outdoors. And right now is the best time to buy. Tariffs are pushing the 2026 prices up, but 2024s and 2025s are still at the lowest prices of the year. With payments starting at just $160 a month with approved credit, your next adventure is closer than ever. Enjoy free food, drinks, door prices, and huge savings all weekend Mention this 97.1 ad and get a shot at $500 to the Apache Village Parts Store. Apache Village RV, where your journey begins the moment you walk through the door. Go one better. Go Apache Village RV.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for New Perspective Senior Living, where your loved one will enjoy chef-prepared meals, engaging activities, state-of-the-art technology, and a welcoming community that feels like home. Visit npseniorliving.com to schedule a tour today. New Perspective, where every day is a chance to live life on purpose.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A strategy session at the White House. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump meeting with House Speaker Mike Johnson as work continues on what the president calls one big, beautiful bill to advance his agenda.
Congressional Republicans are restarting work this week on a reconciliation bill meant to address tax cuts. The president has said he'd want a bill that makes the 2017 cuts permanent, but also addresses certain tax incentives for businesses and implements no taxes on tips.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. The president also suggesting that revenues from tariffs could reduce income taxes, especially for people earning less than $200,000 a year. Democrats warn that big spending cuts will put Medicare on the chopping block, which the president has denied. Tomorrow marks 100 days in office for the second Trump term.
Border numbers are historic low. Today, as I'm standing here, we are the most secure border in the history of this nation. And the numbers prove it.
Border czar Tom Homan at a White House briefing earlier today, also defending last week's arrest of a county judge accused of helping a criminal suspect evade arrest by immigration officers at her courthouse in Wisconsin. Voters in Canada decide today whether to extend their Liberal Party's decade in power or choose a conservative opposition leader as prime minister.
President Trump's certainly not shying away from playing an outsized role in the elections. Just today on social media saying Canada would be much better off, much wealthier, have a much stronger military if it were the 51st state of the United States of America. Now, this election was expected to be a landslide for conservatives, but that has changed dramatically over the past few months. And many political analysts say the reason it's changed is because of President Trump.
Fox's Steve Harrigan in Montreal. The acting Prime Minister Mark Carney has pushed back on Trump tariffs. The U.S. military says it's investigating claims by Houthi rebels in Yemen that a U.S. airstrike hit a prison holding African migrants, killing at least 68 people. America is listening to Fox News.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk, my sponsor, my wireless company, has a better offer. The brand new free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan for $35 a month. You get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-213-5757. 800-213-5757.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Like early summer as we go through our Monday afternoon, sunshine, windy, 88 for the high tonight. Clouds take over. Very warm this evening, 69. Rain and thunderstorms developing well after midnight. Rain and thunderstorms into first thing Tuesday morning. Some could be strong to severe, 79. It's a waiting game to see if another batch develops mid to late afternoon. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
If you're a supporter of the Second Amendment, you need to be a member of the Reign St. Louis West. Mark Cox here. You know, they get free lanes and free firearm rentals, 5% off firearms and suppressors, 10% off accessories, and 15% off classes. The new benefit on Sundays from 10 to noon, the lanes are for members only. And in April, you get 2 free basic cleanings of a modern firearm. Check them out at 14803 Manchester Road in Baldwin, therangestl.com.
Take me out to my TV on FanDuel Sports Network. Yeah. Watch me some dingers and RBIs. I'm just glad they have my local team live for its root for the Cardinals on FanDuel Sports Network. Cardinals
Who has the most 5-star reviews in St. Louis? Is the Post-Dispatch Window Retailer of the Year, J.D. Power Award winner 5 years in a row, and has the nation's best warranty coverage? Renewal by Anderson, that's who. Take advantage of our great April sale. Buy one window, entry door, or patio door, and get the next 50% off with 0 payments and 0 interest for 12 months. Check it out at rbastl.com or call 314-332-1924. Renewal by Anderson, a better way to a better window. Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Give all of these people in Collinsville the opportunity to make the decisions themselves about who their mascot is, including Granite City over here. We've got television, Channel 4 and Channel 5 out here talking to some Granite City Warriors. We can't really tell here as much, but there's a lot of Mascuda here is also in Collinsville. They're all purple. Very purple event, but it's a red, white, and blue event.
Yeah, Annie's in Washington today at the White House, both today and tomorrow for Trump's 100th day in office. But this weekend, man, we've been doing a lot. She was there with Brad and I and many, 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 many others for the Save Our Mascots rally. And good turnout. It was a weird day, though, because without knowing it, you schedule an event, you just go, yeah, let's do it. And people show up and, it was good. But we also scheduled it on a day that happened to be in late April, rainy and cold.
Yeah, it was a little
outside,
drizzly.
which you're like, really? And then the Blues game happened to be in the middle of the second period when I showed up, and I was a little bit early. So most people were getting there right at the end of the second period. And the last thing I heard was the Blues' second goal. And I was in my car. Oh, my gosh. And then I got out and went to the rally. So I'm like, oh, no, there's going to be so many people that want to hear and watch the Blues game. We did talk about it a little bit from the stage. Great speakers yesterday. Everybody that got up made such a great case for keeping these mascots. And it was evident that everybody came at it at a little bit different angle, but that everybody had a really good point.
Yes.
And the point against it is we don't like those things. All the points for it almost make themselves.
Like, I was listening, a common thread that I heard run through that was how they would use their school's mascot as an example to be a better person, to be a better citizen, to be and show courage and bravery and all of that stuff.
And I don't mean to go way into this because we got a lot of stuff to get to here, but I do want to mention this. And Brad, if you can, we're going to post the list of legislators that you can call or email or whatever. If you're really passionate about this like we are, email these people because they're the first one, kind of the line
this
of
is
defense.
The committee that is hearing it.
And so just make your voice heard, which is all we're trying to do. But I was thinking yesterday, because I went to Collinsville High School, that walking through the halls when I was in school, you'd walk past those old pictures and trophies and the banners up, and really you have no connection to those people other than that thing.
Mm-hmm.
If this is somebody who won a national championship in 1935, I have zero connection to that person other than through my school and through that picture or that banner. And so while that was an amazing achievement in 1935, I would not have any connection to it other than through that thing. That's what they're trying to do with the Indians from this area, the Native American Indians, is I wouldn't think about that every day when I was in CHS, but whenever I would see the mascot, it would remind me, oh, I'm from this area. And long before me, there were other people here. And if you get rid of that, it just erases more of that
It
memory.
breaks the connection.
And that's why the Western Cherokee tribe is even saying, no, don't do this. They don't want us to do this. And Illinois is saying, we don't really care. We're going to do it anyway. At least so far. We'll see. It hasn't passed yet. So anyway, that was going on Sunday. And again, during the Blues game, which was a lot of fun yesterday. Ethan was at the Blues game yesterday.
That I was. Not only, that second goal you mentioned, but the end of the second period had like
wild.
Had like 3 goals in 4 minutes or something like that, 6 minutes.
Ethan, we're standing at that rally, and of course, we're all just chatting and talking. And we went live yesterday, and we were asking, hey, what's going on in the Blues game? Last I saw, it was 2-1. And people go, oh, it's 4 now. It had been like 3 minutes. We were like, oh my gosh.
And probably by the end of the rally, I guess I would call it, it was probably 5-1.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was once again a phenomenal atmosphere. Enterprise was rocking. A little bit of a different start in the sense of game 3. I mean, the Blues had 2 goals on the board within 3 minutes. They actually started down in game 4. And Winnipeg was the better team early on in this one. And Connor Hellebuck made some really good saves on some Blues shots. And you started to wonder, okay, is he starting to play like the best goalie in hockey? And the Blues kind of stole that period when they scored with like a minute left in the period.
Always a dagger.
Very fortunate shot too. Like Colton Parayko.
That was a savable goal, right?
Yes, but I mean, like it's a tough one because Colton Parayko, who has one of the hardest slap shots in the NHL, his shot was tipped, so it's coming in kind of like a knuckle puck is what they call it. It's like a changeup, right? It's coming
I remember
in
that
really
from Mighty
slow.
Ducks.
And Jake Neighbors tips it in. So it was I think it probably caught Hellebuck off guard because anytime you see Colton Parayko, gearing up to send one your way, you don't expect it to come as slowly as it did. And
it was a changeup.
It's like the slow shots in foosball.
But it also wasn't directly at him, right? It was off-centered, right? So to where Neighbors was able to tip it in. So it's a really tough goal to stop. But it felt like the Blues kind of stole that first period because of that goal that they got right there towards the end of the first. And then, pretty evenly played in the second. And then when the Blues turned it on, they turned it on. Tyler Tucker scores that second goal. I'm trying to remember who scored in between. Braden Shen scored the third, and then Justin Falk scored the fourth. And the fourth one was also a little bit of luck. Hit off of a Winnipeg Jets skate into the back of the net. So a couple of fortunate goals, but there's no such thing as an ugly goal in the playoffs.
I heard somebody say that
how you can get it in.
The first 2 games, the Blues did not play bad, but the bounces went the Jets' way.
Yes.
In this one, the Blues deserved to win, but the bounces went their way.
The last 30 minutes of this game were overwhelmingly in favor of the Blues, but they also had some things go their way. But that's what happens when you shoot the puck. When you put pucks on the net, good things happen, and that was proof they did not shoot the puck nearly enough in the first 2 games. And the top line, there have been a lot of attention around the goalie play and the top lines, the best players facing each other, and the Jets top line controlled the play and pretty much dominated in the first 2 games. It has completely flipped. The Blues have completely dominated them these last 2 games. So let's hope that they can keep that momentum going and they can, add on to or take the series lead in game 5.
Also heard a lot. I watched a lot of the post-game stuff and listened to a lot of stuff after the game because we were at the rally for, the bulk of the third period. But I kept hearing this familiar theme that Connor Hellebuck is just way off, like that they've gotten into his head. And I always wonder, is that a media narrative that, they got in his head? Or is that like, no, actually he's showing that he's off?
Perhaps to a certain extent, but someone tweeted this out. I think it was Amy Markscores from the other side of the building yesterday said that the only person that can relate to Connor Hellebuck is Clayton Kershaw, which I thought was a really interesting comparison, right? Because Clayton Kershaw, one of the best pitchers of our generation, has, for a long time, always choked in the playoffs, really struggled in the playoffs. And Connor Hellebuck is in a similar situation to where he is by far the best goalie in hockey. He's going to win for the second straight year the Vezina Trophy, which is the goalie of the year. And he has been really bad in the playoffs. He got pulled from both starts. I believe that's the first time that has happened this year, where he's been the first 2 starts this year that he's been pulled from, and allowed 11 goals. That's his save percentage was under 80%. Average in hockey's like 90%. That's average. So he's like 92% normally. So the Blues have done a really good job, being able to score on him, but also the fans at Enterprise Center did a great job, because even in Game 3, they were chanting Connor.
Oh, I heard that.
Connor throughout the game.
How could that not get in your head?
But then yesterday is when it became really evident, because they were doing the same thing. But then once he got pulled yesterday in the third period, the crowd starts chanting, "We want Connor." They wanted him back in there. Like, Blues fans were on it yesterday, so it was very entertaining from a perspective of just getting to watch the crowd's interaction with it as well, and them, but also them feeling like they're taking responsibility too for putting in having a little bit of that effect on him.
I've watched enough sports that just doesn't happen in hockey as much. I mean, during the regular season, certainly, once in a while, a little thing. But if you're shooting free throws in basketball, it is constant people behind the basket waving stuff, yelling at you, coming up with chants. You gotta just get over it. But in hockey, I would think that you're not as used to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because it definitely becomes stronger for the playoffs. But
for sure.
But I think when you have a guy at this level of talent, he's a pro's pro.
Absolutely,
he would tell you, no, it's not. There's no connection, right? But I think that after the way that he has played, allowing 11 goals the last 2 games, 10 goals maybe, that there perhaps is, it's in his head a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me. The last thing that I'll say about this is that there have been rumors going around that John Gruden will be at Game 6 when it's back in St. Louis. If you remember last week, we went through the video, right, of him unboxing all the Blues gear, and the Blues were down 2-0 at that point, and he gave the motivational speech of a lifetime. And
it was like 7 minutes long, too.
The Blues are 2-0 since Be the Nightmare. That's all I'm saying.
Be the Nightmare.
The last 2 games, when they've been getting the crowd hyped before the Blues take the ice, they have had someone that they put on the screen that's firing up the crowd. He's throwing his hand. He's waving the rally towel. In Game 3, it was Hall of Famer Chris Pronger, which everyone knows. Game 4 was Pat Maroon, who's the hometown hero. This guy retired from the NHL a couple of weeks ago. He played with the Blackhawks, and he was wearing a Blues jersey, waving the rally towel, chugging a Bud Light. I mean, the crowd was amped. I hope to God that is John Gruden doing that for Game 6, because that would be pure electricity.
And here's
to
the
get
way
that
to do
crowd
it.
hyped.
Here's the way to do it. Have him doing it on the big screen, on the Jumbotron.
You play a little bit of the video before,
and then he walks out and you realize he's there.
Yes. Yes.
But don't let anybody know that we've already figured that out.
Yeah, right. Well,
that's got to be the reveal.
There's still going to be people that will be surprised by that if it ends up being true. But oh my goodness. I mean, you play a little bit of that video, Be the Nightmare, and then John Gruden, no connection to St. Louis whatsoever.
Other than SEMO.
Yeah, but is that really a St. Louis connection?
He loves St. Louis, though.
Yeah, but it's not like he's from here or has any super deep ties. He coached here as an assistant coach 2 hours away for 1 year.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's with just how big his personality is, with how well known he is. For this to happen is just perfect timing right now for Blues fans.
To the rally this weekend, I wore my Letterman jacket, and I didn't know if I was going to speak or not. Annie said maybe.
Which is awesome, by the way. Yeah. That letter jacket looks
And I had
sweet.
my whole speech prepared, and it was going to be that I would go up there, I would be like, look, you guys, I was a huge jock. and I lettered in all these sports like golf and
ping pong,
long pregnant pause. And then
underwater basket.
I was going to say, but look, people come up to me all the time. They say, Ryan, you need to stop wearing your Letterman jacket around and live in your glory days as captain of the golf team. And I just have to laugh because I wasn't the captain. I was on it in a down year. And that's the truth. We did go to state my junior year because
that's
we had
cool.
Awesome seniors.
Oh.
And then they graduated.
How was your senior year?
And then it was me and one other guy, John Stolarski, and he was the captain. So I wasn't really sure how that would tie into the rally, but I didn't want to tell that story. But I always thought that would be the only thing that I could ever do in professional sports and I'd first have to learn how to catch, like be a catcher, because I don't know how to do that. But to be a catcher and stand there and talk to the batters, that's the only thing that I'm like, ooh, I could really do that.
I'll just reference you to The Sandlot when Ham does that.
Yeah,
and he says a few different things to the players.
That's what I would like to do. And then catching the ball.
You'd have been mic'd up.
Is that still a thing though? Like we just talked about the free throws and all that stuff. Does that actually get in batters' head anymore?
I would be surprised if it's still a thing, because these guys, here's the difference now, is these guys all know each other and they're all, friends to a certain extent.
I guess
right?
That's true.
So there's a lot you don't see unless it's like division foes. You really don't see this like we hate the other team very much.
Yeah, but we wouldn't know that was happening.
No, we wouldn't.
So it could still be happening.
It could.
And it's just part of the game, right? You I'm going to try to get in your head a little bit because that's what we do.
You could do that without being mean, though. Like people that I talk the most trash to are my buddies.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know.
I think Ethan's saying, though, that you have a mutual respect for everybody, and I'm not going to try to ruin your career in a way that's beyond the pale.
Like, for example, you see it a lot more at first base. Like, guys, like, kind of chomping the bit with each other, like, casually chatting. And then, like, you'll see, like, funny relationships sometimes. Like, there's videos that have gone viral in the past. Like, they're untucking shirts and stuff like that. It's a different day and age of baseball where you just don't see that very much. And I would be surprised, because of the things that you do see, if that also happened simultaneously. I could be wrong. I don't have any background as to if this actually happens or not. This is just my opinion.
Different day and age. You didn't see people, in the 80s walking around untucking Pedro Guerrero's shirt.
No.
But you do
I don't
now.
know who Pedro Guerrero
They did that, but they were fighting.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a short break. Again, we are going to interview Bill O'Reilly in a few minutes here on the Andy Frey Show. The reason we're doing that is because 97.1 is broadcasting the News Nation Town Hall this Wednesday night from 7 to 9. And Bill O'Reilly and Chris Cuomo and Stephen A. Smith are the moderators of that. We couldn't pass it up, and we're the exclusive home of that broadcast. So we're going to talk to Bill O'Reilly at about 2:45. So stick around. It's the Andy Frey Show.
This is the Annie Frey Show. The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey, Jimmy Fallon here with a quick listening tip for you. If you miss Fox Across America or any of your other Fox News favorites, do not worry. I got you covered. You can stream previously aired shows with Rewind, available exclusively on the free Odyssey app. So if you're busy work days, it doesn't mean you have to miss out on the news. Listen to your Fox shows on your time with Odyssey. To get started, just download the free Odyssey app and search for Fox News Radio. That's Odyssey, AUDACY. I'm spelling it out in case you're a little slow like me.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Elbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com. Hey, Underdog Fantasy just became one of the best places to make entries during the basketball playoffs with their extender promo. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. You start a playoff series by using your Game 1 boost and continue boosting each game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boosts. Underdog is a leading place to make all of your sports selections, and now you can play in Missouri. You want to get signed up with your username and a password, of course, and then use the promo code MARKR. I'm going to guide you into that in a second. Millions of fans have won billions making plays on Underdog. Will you be the next? And to play, all you have to do is download and then choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. And you can choose from things like points, assists, and more. Download the Underdog app and sign up with the promo code MARKR to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code MARKR. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concert with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
History is happening in D.C. and 97.1 FM Talk is on the inside. Our very own Annie Frey has been selected to join the national press pool covering President Trump's 100th day in office.
I'm going to Washington, and you're coming with me.
Exclusive access, unfiltered insight, local coverage, and we're inviting you along.
I'm Annie Frey, reporting from the White House throughout the day on 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie Goes to Washington is presented by Stewart's American Mortgage and Grasser Electric.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Time to schedule your air conditioner service. Get your entire HVAC system checked for $19 a month with the preferred partner plan and be ready for the first heat wave. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Annie Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric. You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
A lot to get to here. And, of course, another thanks to Stewart's American Mortgage and Grasser Electric because they heard, oh, there's a possibility that Annie could be part of the national press pool for a couple days. Yeah, we'll make that happen. That's how it happens. So thank you guys, and show them some love as you consider them for your business needs. They had a couple questions come in online. I want to talk about the Canadian election. It's coming up pretty soon. And reading from NPR here, it says at the start of the year, it was almost certain that Pierre Poilievre was the leader of, or he is the leader of Canada's Canadian or Conservative Party. He would be the next Canadian Prime Minister. After nearly a decade of Justin Trudeau leading Canada and the Liberal Party, both friends and foes had a growing disdain for the Prime Minister and the Liberal Party. Then, in quick succession, Trudeau resigned, Donald Trump became the U.S. president, threatened Canada's sovereignty, and signed an executive order implementing tariffs on imported Canadian goods. The Liberal Party of Canada got a new leader, Mark Carney, and everything changed. And now it's almost a toss-up. You might say, Mark Carney has a little bit of an advantage there. And I get to this question here from Scooter. I'm going to pull up. It says, question for Ryan. You have a perfect record on predicting election results. Where do you see the election in Canada going today? Well, what he's referencing is on my weekend show. Ever since 2023, I have made predictions for all the major elections. And I do so by watching a number of things. It's all data, mainly, and a little bit of gut. But polls is the first one, of course, and I have a reputation for following those things. But also now voter registration trends, early voting numbers, and all the data that goes into the vote itself going into Election Day. And you can really learn a lot by just watching all that data. The trouble is you got to put it all together. And he's right. Ever since 2023, I don't pick easy elections because that's boring. Everybody knows how that's going to go. I just pick the ones that are 50-50 or close. And in 2023, it was a bunch of random candidates, and it was ballot initiatives. Abortion was on the ballot in Ohio. I remember that one. And, if you're in your bubble, you would think things are going better for your side no matter what. So I try to step outside of that, just read data, got all those right. Then in 2024, obviously we had some big elections in 2024, and I just picked swing states, and I picked House, and I picked Senate. And my overall number that the Senate would be was 53 Republicans. That was exactly right. Then I picked that every swing state, other than ones like the fringier swing states like New Hampshire and Virginia and Minnesota, all the main swing states would go red. That happened. Then the House would barely hold on. I don't know if I gave the exact number, but I gave it pretty close. And so then in 25, the only one that's been really a swing pick has been the Wisconsin Supreme Court election.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were watching conservative media during that, you were saying, oh man, Elon Musk spending a lot of money. They got a great ground game. I went on the air the week before and I said, look, guys, it's just not going to happen. The Republicans are not going to pick this seat off. It's a down year. You're going to have high turnout in Wisconsin for an off year. And that's what's weird is that elections are changing in the United States right now to where usually 10 years ago, off year elections were dominated by Republicans. Now off year elections are actually dominated by Democrats. And you know why that is? It's really interesting. It's because the party of the working class, who's not quite as always engaged in politics
or even available,
has switched. The party of the working class doesn't show up for off-year elections as much because they're not as marquee. They don't feel as big or important. And the party of the working class has shifted from being Democrat to now Republican. And you have more engaged activists who are voting for Democrats, and they're very, very engaged. So they show up in off years. So that's why you just don't know what 2026 is going to be like, because is that considered an off year election? It's a midterm. It's not a presidential election, but it's still pretty big. And you'll probably have Trump out there campaigning. So that's going to be tough as we get closer. Of course, I'll continue to update you on both this show and on my weekend show as to how I think that's going to turn out. But there's also this wild card that a lot of that NGO money, the spigot's being turned off right now.
Yeah.
And that is a weird thing to try to factor in to an election when so much money had been factored into Act Blue. I was going to do a whole segment about Act Blue. This is stuff that's maybe not breaking through fully, but that Trump is truthing out that they are going to be investigating the major Democrat fundraising arm. And without getting too deep into that, people are like, oh, you can't do that. The crimes that have already been shown to be, they haven't even started really digging yet, but there are multiple people in multiple states that have had their name used for fraudulent donations to Act Blue. And it's provable. They'd say, I am a Republican activist and my name showed up, and either money was given in their name somehow, which means it was from somebody they don't want you to know about, or they tapped into the credit cards because they were not asking for the CVV number, which is super stupid. Like if you want security, you ask for the 3 numbers. That's why every time you give your phone number or your credit card anywhere, they ask for those 3 numbers because it avoids fraud. Like it diminishes the amount of fraud capable by a tremendous amount. So they were doing all these things, and that's all what we know they were doing. Then there's all this other stuff. All their top lawyers have resigned and run. I mean, it is crazy, but we're not talking about it too much. But anyway, all that's happening and could affect the 2026 election. And back to the original point there, to answer Scooter's question, how will the Canadian elections turn out? I don't know.
This is super tight.
I have no idea because I don't really follow the numbers for Canada like I do the US. I don't have as much of a vested interest. So I haven't really been following it. I mean, I just see the poll numbers like anybody else, but I haven't been really digging into the data like I do for US elections. All right. So Annie is in Washington, D.C. And we have pulled a couple things that we wanted to play for you. Now, this isn't from Annie. We'll have a lot more of that probably tomorrow. That's happening now. And so tomorrow, come back for the Annie Frey show because we're going to have tons of material from her trip to Washington and being on the White House grounds. It's going to be great. Whether she asks a question in the press pool today or tomorrow, we don't know. But obviously, if that happens, we'll have that too. What are you saying there?
I was going to say I've got.
Okay, you got it. So, so this is, if you want to tune in right now, we're going to bring it up on the live stream. Go to YouTube, type in Annie Frey. Today's date will come up and you can see this happening because we're going to play the audio. But as Ryan Schmelz said, I saw Annie on the TV today because, Fox News was carrying this. So if you were tuning in early enough, you saw this as well. This is live coverage. Well, it was live coverage of who's the reporter who's standing next to Annie?
Mary Margaret Olahan. She is the White House correspondent for the Daily Wire.
So she got a couple questions in. We're going to play those really just because Annie's standing right next to her.
But they're good questions about illegal immigration.
So here you go.
This list has a very high number of sexual assaults on a child. Can you comment on that and why there's so many crimes against children committed by illegals in this country?
I don't know why. It's sick. It's the worst crime in the world when you sexually assault a child. I mean, the most innocent of us all. But that's why I made a statement that one time I was going to go to Boston, bring hell with me. And the media went crazy. At Tom Homan says, we're going to Boston, bring hell with them. I was going to bring hell to illegal aliens that rape children. There's not more of a heinous crime. And as you can see, the amount of child rapists we've arrested under this administration, that could have been arrested under the Biden administration. They were out there. They had their final orders. They were out there, but they didn't go look for them. They were too busy releasing millions of illegal aliens in this country. And the numbers prove it. The removal numbers of criminals was the lowest. ICE had the lowest number of removals in the history of ICE under Joe. At the same time, you had historic illegal immigration on the border. ICE had the lowest numbers in the history of the agency. That shows the difference between two administrations. We're looking for every one of them. People want to know, okay, when am I going to retire for the third time? I'll retire when every public safety threat, national security threat, child rape is eradicated from this country. That's when I'll rest.
Wow. Was that just one question or are there more?
That was just the one question.
That was the one. I had not heard that yet. I'd seen the video just because Annie was in it. But wow. Yeah, that's actually tragic to hear. But I'm just glad that the administration we have is tackling these issues.
We're getting dangerous people off the streets is essentially what they're out there saying, and that's what we really want from the administration. That's why people voted for Trump. I know people are like, "Oh, Trump's underwater on the immigration issue."
He's not.
He's not. That's not accurate.
That's not true. Yeah.
And these are the people that we're targeting, and these are the people that we're worried about. This is what everyday Americans were worried about for the past 4 years. And it's great to have a guy like Tom Homan out there who has taken it upon, like, he will not be deterred and he's going to get this job done. And I think that's great.
I get the sense that he's doing it for the right reason too.
Yes.
Which I like, protecting the vulnerable. Since you brought up polling, and let me know if you have another video that we can bring up, because I'd like to just play all those in this segment if we can. But since you brought up polling, I was looking at his approval polling because a lot of people are screaming, "Oh, finally, finally we got past the honeymoon period, which is the 100-day thing, and Americans are finally turning on Trump." Every issue, they're finally waking up. That's the narrative that you'll hear mainly from the mainstream news, but also from advocates online and things. The problem is with that narrative that it's the same polls that over and over and over got it wrong on elections, and that's provable. So you can do opinion polls all you want, but you can't really prove them right or wrong. What you can prove is how off you were in an election. And I'm not saying everyone was as bad as this one, but the Seltzer poll in Iowa, these are the same. A lot of these same organizations, they all know each other, and they're not push polling, but they're trying to influence the opinion, just like you always say, Brad. I don't like polls because so many of them aren't actually trying to reflect the atmosphere of the country. Right. They're trying to change the atmosphere of the country.
Persuasive devices, not predictive.
Exactly. And that Seltzer poll out of Iowa had been a long, reliable Iowa Des Moines Register poll. It was their thing. They'd been pretty good. And obviously, Iowans are very engaged in politics. That's why they have the first caucus and all that. It was right before, it was the weekend before the election. Harris is going to win Iowa by 11 points or something crazy, something unbelievable. And a bunch of other polls came out that weekend. It was the weekend before the election. Obviously, a lot of polls. But the headlines were all Seltzer poll, Iowa Des Moines Register has Harris up by 11. Even if they're wrong, she might still win Iowa. Trump then won that state, I think, by +5, which puts Iowa Des Moines Register's Seltzer poll off by 16-ish, maybe even 17 based on rounding points. 16 points. And these are reputable polling companies.
Didn't she retire after that?
Yes, she did. She had it all ready to go. She's like, okay, here you go, and I'm out of here. They knew what they were doing. And unfortunately, the bias enters into these things. And we'll kind of finish this segment where we started it. To read the data, you have to try to be unbiased. There's no way to leave your humanity behind. I understand that. But you have to try to at least interpret data based on what's actually happening. And there are fewer and fewer people doing that within the mainstream of polling.
Yeah.
And most of these, you know the names, they're tied to major outlets, New York Times and LA Times and CNN and all these different NBC. Oh my gosh, the NBC poll is terrible. So you have to look to the people who are getting better track records. So what are those people saying about Trump and popularity and opinion polls? Well, they actually still have him in the positive.
Yeah.
So if you really want to examine who's accurate in election polling, look at the people who got it the closest right and then ask them, well, how's Trump doing right now?
Yeah. And the counter to that is always they rely on their legacy,
their names.
They're like, well, these are just random right-wing pollsters are out there. And the only reason they call them right-wing pollsters is because they actually show, Donald Trump doing better than what their polls show. But then you see the election, you go, well, they were actually almost perfect.
Yeah. And look, I'm not going to tell you either. I'm not going to spin this in my direction either and tell you, because it is data. I'm not going to tell you that he hasn't fallen from day one. Presidents always fall from day one. That's what happens. He's back to close to even, where he actually was polling pretty far ahead. You'd have him up by 6-7 points at times on everything. He's not there anymore. That's because he's doing work. That's because presidents, after their 100 days, the honeymoon's over. We're right there now. And that's what happens with polling. That's the nation goes, because you're making hopefully hard decisions and you're not just taking swings at wiffle balls and going, hey, isn't everything great? Because if you do that, you kind of can avoid controversy. But if you're going to make hard decisions, and I don't know if you know Donald Trump, he tends to do that. He ruffles feathers. He's going to get people mad at him. He's going to get a lot of people mad at him that you want to be mad at him. That's one of the reasons you elected him. So just keep that in mind when you see the next headline that says, the opinion polls are turning against him. It's semi-true in that he's lost a little ground, but he's still overall in the positive, according to the best pollsters. We're going to take a short break here and come back with Bill O'Reilly. Yeah, no kidding. Host of No Spin News. He is going to be broadcasting, well, we're broadcasting, but he's hosting the News Nation Town Hall with President Trump this Wednesday. Stick around. We'll talk to Bill O'Reilly next.
To the year 3000, this song had gone multi-platinum.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is found online at igotfloored.com with 3 locations in the St. Louis area. You can ensure that if you visit them online or in store, that you are going to get great customer service, the attention to detail that you care about, and really, really high quality products. Michael's Flooring Outlet understands that you want to make sure your dollar stretches as far as it can, but not at the cost of good quality products. Whether it's hardwood flooring like the Techwood Plus line, whether it is carpeting, the Mohawk Smart Strand line of carpeting with superior performance, Michael's Flooring Outlet will help you through this process. You can request an estimate online and make sure that you have a confidence about your purchase that is going to cause you to be somebody who recommends Michael's Flooring Outlet to the next folks who say, oh my gosh, your flooring is so beautiful. Where did you get it? You can find them in store in 3 different locations across St. Louis, but online at igotfloored.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
A lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, this is my last hope. The next step is getting them in the right arch supports. Our goal is to have that long-term change for them, to see someone that is in pain, I change things for them. See how we can help you with a free fitting at the Good Feet store.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com. That's GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com.
I'm Danny Cohn, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This past week, the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust and remembered the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. As Jews, when we recall the atrocities of the Holocaust, we say, never again. This is not a slogan or a tagline. It's a responsibility we all share to prevent the systematic hatred from going unchecked. When we work together to fight against prejudice and bigotry towards everyone, we create a better community for everyone.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Frey Show.
Annie Frey is in Washington, D.C. at the White House today and tomorrow covering the 100 days of Trump's second term. And that means that I, Ryan Wiggins, get the honor of talking to the legend Bill O'Reilly, who is here on the phone with us. Bill, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
So let's talk about the 100 days, and then let's talk about this town hall you're doing. What do you think? Is the first 100 days of Trump 47 a win for America?
As a former high school teacher, I'd have to give it an incomplete at this point. I think that's a fair assessment. Very successful on the border and defining what DOGE is doing, looking for wasteful spending by the government. I think those are the two strong points. Tariffs obviously got people spooked. Don't know how that's going to ultimately come out. I'm optimistic. I think it could work. But I understand the angst and the anxiety that causes. Overseas, Putin has given Trump a hard time. Don't know. I still believe that the president may pull off a deal on this thing, but boy, it's rough. And China, bellicose. So there's a lot of things that in the second 100 days will define themselves further. I think that's a fair assessment.
Bill, does the pace of this first 100 days surprise you, or is this like, this is Trump, and can he keep it up?
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean, I told the president himself that no other president in history has taken on more so quickly. George Washington would be second because he didn't have a government. He had to just build it from nothing. So he was pretty busy his first 100 days, but Trump's outdone him because he's opened up so many fronts. And that's in response to the disaster of the Biden administration. That's what spurred that on. So once he was inaugurated, Trump already had 100 executive orders ready to go because of the failed policies of Mr. Biden. And when you do things that fast, you make mistakes. And the Trump administration has made some.
Bill, when you talk to the president, you mentioned talking to President Trump. Bill Maher was talking about how, oh gosh, he almost seems like a different guy when you meet him in person versus this version that you see of him in the media. Do you find that? I mean, it's kind of a personal question, but do you find that to be the case?
No, he's the same guy. I've known him 35 years. Maher has no frame of reference at all. Mm-hmm. He's just trying to make an excuse to his left-wing viewers on why he went in there. Trump is remarkably consistent. He has personality traits. I wrote a book called The United States of Trump, and I just laid out his background and how he was raised, and he really has not changed much since a young man going into Manhattan and making a big success in real estate. He reacts to everything personally. He's impatient. He sees things in a bigger picture than most people do. He will never admit a mistake ever. So I haven't seen any change in his public or private persona. He's a little funnier in private. You get him relaxed, and he's got a very good sense of humor.
That's a good thing, though, right? I mean, you don't want somebody who goes out there and puts on one face publicly and then behind closed doors like, oh, let me really tell you the story. That you want somebody who's consistent, right? Even if you disagree with him.
In my experience, when I've interviewed 6 presidents, most of them are like that.
Most of them are what? They shift, or they're the same?
They don't. So Bush the younger is a shy guy. He doesn't like to, engage people he doesn't know. But when you get to know him, he's got a really good sense of humor and he's down to earth. And I think he came across that way. He didn't come across as, some imperial presence in a White House. Obama, I got to know pretty well. He wasn't that different, private and public. Hillary, that's a little bit. She would be the one that I would point to. She's much friendlier in private. She's much more accessible because she doesn't trust many people. So she gets stiff when she goes out into public.
Wow.
But most of them, the presidents, Biden, I don't know very well. I had one conversation with him, but I don't think you can judge Biden at this point in his life because I don't think he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like very few people had any access to President Biden during his 4 years.
Nobody had, just Jill. Jill was the gatekeeper, and you had to go through her. And Biden spent most of his time just wandering around. He really didn't do much work in the White House.
Wow, man, the current President Trump has been tweeting about and truthing about the auto pen stuff. And I'm just, I don't know that they'll ever get to the bottom of that, but that is a really interesting story if they can.
Yeah, well, it would have to be a White House insider like Ron Klain or somebody like that, guy named Donnelly, who would be the policy people. But I can almost tell you with certainty that Joe Biden had no idea what he was signing most of the time.
Yeah. America should have known that. The media kind of protected him for way too long on that.
Oh, it's horrible. Biggest media scandal in history. Because you had to know. I knew from the first 2 weeks of his presidency, this guy wasn't operating like he should have. This is a big, hard job. And this guy's wandering around and he can't focus and he can't explain anything. And come on. And these guys miss the story. Come on. It's ridiculous. They were covering for him because they didn't like Trump.
Yeah. Bill O'Reilly with us, and you will get to talk to the president, much more freewheeling president than the last one, of course, in this town hall that you are doing with News Nation Wednesday night, starting at 7:00. We're, of course, airing that live right here, exclusive air in St. Louis of this town hall with Bill O'Reilly. Give us the format. Like, what do we expect for this town hall?
This is going to be an event. So I didn't really have to twist the president's arm to do it. It's going to be on the phone because it's late at night. Not late for him, but for most human beings. And I'm glad you guys are carrying it. About 100 stations, radio stations, once I made the announcement last week, chimed in they want to carry it live. We'll probably have more. And the CW network is going to carry it live. And
That's great.
It's going to emanate from News Nation in Manhattan. And what it's going to be is 2 hours. The president will kick it off. I will interview him. I'm the kind of co-anchor of the whole thing, along with Chris Cuomo. And then Stephen A. Smith will be there, and then a cast of thousands. Carville will be there. And, we got all kinds of people weighing in. But the interview with Donald Trump is going to be informational. It's not going to be confrontational. We're not trying to make him look bad or trap him, because I'm coming at this from history because I write history books. You guys know that. Confronting the President's Fabulous Success. And if people in St. Louis haven't read it, you might check that out. But I want to get on the record what his feeling is about his victories and his defeats in the first 100 days. And in order to do that, he's got to feel kind of comfortable to explain what happened, and he's got to keep it pithy because we got, people who are going to have a live studio audience there. They're going to be able to ask him some questions through me, right on cards. So it's one of these things I like to do because it's unpredictable. Most of the interviews with presidents are stodgy, and you know what they're going to be. This one, I have no blanket idea how this is going to come out. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like a unique event because we have a picture of a town hall in our heads, but it doesn't include multiple people weighing in. I mean, that's a really interesting cross-section when you say Chris Cuomo, Stephen A. Smith, yourself. I didn't know James Carville was going to be there too, but everybody's just kind of peppering them from every side.
No. Only me and Cuomo will interview him.
Okay. See, this I don't understand. Yeah.
It's not a free-for-all. And then what he says, then the others will come in to analyze. And I will probably use a couple of audience questions. Again, they'll be written on cards. But because the interview is serious, you don't want to make it into this crazy thing where everybody's firing all of this nutty stuff. My job is basically to run a responsible broadcast for 2 hours. And News Nation knows that I'm a pretty tough guy. The joke is I'm the bouncer, but that's pretty much what I am. I'm going to keep it under control, but we're going to get some good information, I think.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Bill O'Reilly, really appreciate you joining us to promote that event. It's Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, right here on 97.1, and we will be tuning in. And, of course, probably pulling some clips for our show the next day.
Excellent. And tell Annie I said hello. I know she's ducking me.
Yeah, well, she's at the White House, so I will pass that along. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Very cool. I didn't expect to be interviewing Bill O'Reilly this morning when I got up. We put that together. Brad, great job. Thanks for that. A lot of fun. Yeah, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. Mike Elam is in for Mark Reardon. Brad Young is in for Mark Reardon next. And Annie is currently, can you tell us where she's at, Brad?
She was pooling outside the door for the Philadelphia Eagles event.
Okay, so that may be happening. She might be checking in here shortly with Brad. I know that she could be at the EO signing too with President Trump this afternoon. So yeah, just keep it here. We're all just going with the flow, as we will again tomorrow at noon for the Annie Frey Show.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
And if you heard with them, these energy mandates, luckily this year they stopped the continuation of this government mandates, but the new refrigerants did not stop, so that is out. So be careful, buyer beware on what you're purchasing. If you're looking for a new system and just want a common sense approach to picking a system, i.e., are you going to save money? Is your energy bills going down? All the stuff that we've been hearing for about the last 25 years. Bottom line is, when it comes to the efficiencies, it's going to be your house. I only have 60 seconds to do this in, so if you want a common sense approach and you are looking at purchasing a system or getting prices on systems, please call me.